Good morning, Raptor freaks. Lexiot's here, and it's Wednesday morning, and we are reacting to the Raptors losing their first NBA Cup game last night to the Milwaukee Bucks. Oh man! And also talking about the 905 playing the Skyhawks again today at 7 o'clock tonight in College Park. So yeah, those are the subjects for today. We'll definitely be covering this game from last night pretty heavy today, as far as the subject for today. Yeah, man, last night was annoying. It wasn't as fun as it's been most of the season, was it? No. And the big reason why was the Raptors offense was cut off, like the faucet was turned off. And I give a lot of credit to the veteran bigs of the Milwaukee Bucks, namely Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo, for having long arms, long wingspans, and very educated, long careers of knowing how to stifle and stymie and mess up teams around the basket, as far as just being real obstructionist towards a team trying to score. Brook Lopez is a valuable player in this league because he does offer a premium rim protection. And we saw that in full effect last night, to the point where it really, really chopped off the offensive ability of the Toronto Raptors last night. It was really bad. It was annoying because at a certain point, the only person who was capable and consistent in scoring was Grady Dick. And he was exemplary in what he was doing out there and really relying on his years of practice, his fundamentals and stuff in a time where the Raptors in the past would be so unconfident, nobody would be hitting any shots. Grady is a sure shot in troubled times when nobody's going to get shots to drop. And we had a perfect storm of different stuff going on with our different guys. RJ in particular was somebody who struggled extremely last night for different reasons, but we can explain, break it down, and go from here and what's happened last night. We gave good feelings to Milwaukee Bucks, who've had a really rough start to the season, winning their first NBA Cup game last night at home against us. Now, I'll say there's different factors in why we lost last night. And I'm going to say the biggest factor in why we lost last night is this NBA schedule makers. Yeah, I mean, the referees had their part. Don't get it wrong. James Williams, Rodney Mott with offensive screen foul calls, and Musa Dagger. Those guys were contributing to some of the messed up stuff that was happening. But the real ultimate person that really screwed up the Raptors for this game last night was the schedule makers. This is unheard of. Like they know they set this up. Not only do they set up this West Coast road trip so early in the season because somebody's got to do it. Well, they're going to give the shaft to the Raptors because we're going to come through and the time changes. We go through 4 games out on the West Coast, and then we play Milwaukee. If you really think about it, on the third game in 4 nights, we play the Lakers and the Clippers on Saturday and Sunday. We get Monday off, and then we have to travel to Milwaukee and play the Bucks on Tuesday night. That's 3 games in 4 nights. And not only that, it's the 5th game on a 5-game road trip. And the other thing is you're coming back. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's an effect that happens to you when you're on your way home from work. Or, you get closer to your house, you start to de-stress. You start to get a little more relaxed. You start to get a little more, I'm almost home kind of feeling. And, that's why sometimes people are more likely to have accidents within their house, the range of their house, statistically. That, people are more likely to either fall asleep or, be careless when they're almost home because they're already kind of in their mind almost home. And there's some factor in this that, they've been on a long road trip. They're thinking, yeah, we're going to be back in Toronto tomorrow. And they get a little ahead of themselves. And, the other thing is we've seen in both the Laker game and the game last night that they ran out of gas in the second half. They just didn't have energy. They just didn't have any kind of energy in the second half for either one of those games. And they really got trounced in those halves, the second half of the Lakers game and the second half of this game last night. It is what it is. I mean, the schedule makers want to set us up with a tough gauntlet, and we're not complaining. We got to come do the games like everybody else does. but there is manipulation in setting up this schedule like this. There really, really is. In some ways, if we're going to have a year like this where we're not going to collect a lot of W's, maybe possibly be the worst record in the league, so be it. Let's get it all out of the way this year. Let's get it all out of the way this year. But yeah, it's really annoying. I'm saying the schedule is a big factor in what happened last night. A huge factor. That court was stupid too. That court, it was really like distracting. In some ways, I didn't like that we were wearing white jerseys in this game. In some ways, I wish we were wearing darker jerseys, because in some ways, the court, I don't know what it was about it exactly. It doesn't seem like it was a very conducive court for good offensive basketball. Like in some ways, whether it's slick because it's a nice new court or something like that, whether it's the color of it, whatever it was, to me, the court was an issue too, because it just seemed like it was just not a natural NBA environment last night, totally. And it seemed like a lot of the steadiness that teams can get from knowing the dimensions of the court and kind of knowing like the feel of it weren't there, because it's such a novel new court, the in-season tournament court for Milwaukee. Yeah, at least there wasn't too much slipping and sliding around all over the place. It was a bit an issue last year, but I mean, there's a few reasons why we lost here, and we're going to go over them. And I went over the kind of the administrative ones, the schedule maker. And Rodney Mott doing the 2 offensive screen fouls on us. Yeah, those are tide changers. Those are momentum stoppers. Those are let's hand a foul to this team, a turnover, and they have no choice. It's not like they messed up and did something that, Jakob does a little bit of extra on the screen, and Rodney Mott's on top of him, and whistling offensive foul, and all of a sudden Milwaukee gets the ball, and Jakob gets another foul, and we get a turnover. That happened twice last night, where we got illegal screens and they were kind of momentum killers. And Rodney Mott, I'm watching you for that. In some ways, I like you, Rodney Mott, but I didn't last night, because those calls I felt like were unnecessary, considering the amount of physicality that the Milwaukee Bucks were showing at the other end, or especially around and underneath the basket. In some ways, I get it. You guys have a new mandate this year to watch the screens and make sure somebody's not hanging out their leg or their hip to try and catch somebody with a little bit more extra hit on the screens. But man, those calls were so kind of whack. Seriously, both of the screen calls by Rodney Mott were kind of borderline and whack and manipulative. That was ref manipulation right there. James Williams and the challenges, yeah, he's going to be shady. He's going to justify things. He's going to, in some ways, he figured out how to call the challenge calls in the favor of the Milwaukee Bucks in certain ways. Some of them were very sketchy, the calls, and they were very 50-50, but of course, the home crew and maybe even the NBA script writing for what they want. There's no, they don't want Giannis to lose in some ways, so they're going to look out for him. I wasn't happy with the Raptors, the way they played last night at all. In some ways, this was the most dismaying loss that they've had this season, partly because it's an NBA Cup game, and they should be getting up and playing at a higher excellence in a game like this instead of going lower with a lower excellence. But once again, a huge, huge factor is Brook Lopez and that interior defense. Players like Giannis, Brook, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton. These guys are veterans of playoff wars, and they played together with each other for a few years now. So there's a lot of veteran experience in those 4 guys and how they operate out on the court, and they know the playoff intensity level. And a lot of our guys don't. A lot of our guys don't know the ramp up, the notch up of having to play even harder, because the stakes are higher, and this is like playoff atmosphere, attitude in this game. In some ways, as they said in the broadcast last night, this is helpful for the young Raptors to understand there's levels to amping up the intensity of NBA games depending on what stage you're in. And an NBA Cup game is a lot more like a playoff game than a regular season game. And that was something that may have been a shock to the system for some of these guys last night, especially our rookies who made rookie mistakes last night. I saw rookie mistakes from all our rookies that played last night. Jamison Battle, Jamal Shed, and Jonathan Mobo. Yeah, there were rookie mistakes. And The crazy thing is, our rookies hadn't been really making a lot of rookie mistakes so far this season, showing themselves very capable and heady and a little bit ahead of where they are in their careers. But they shown last night as far as rookie mistakes happening out there. And it's too bad. It is what it is. All right, let's get into the chat and we'll talk about the game last night. Let's see who's in here first. Trevor J., Commissioner Fun. Thank you, Trevor, for all you do for this channel. I appreciate you, man. Make sure you're not the weapon formed against yourself that's causing you not to prosper. You know, this is a great word of wisdom by Trevor this morning, because in some ways, you know, there's a lot of gaslighting in today's society, whether it's on social media by algorithms, whether it's by messages, or you know, people just telling you, you know, you shouldn't be so proud, or you should be, you know, thinking that yourself is so good or anything like that. You know, this is what I'll say to people as far as with this. Your self-talk is so essential and important to listen to. If your self-talk, it's the little voice in your head, you're just by yourself, is putting you down, demeaning yourself, is saying like, oh, you're stupid, or like, oh, you're not pretty, or oh, whatever it is. If it's negative and it's against you, get rid of it. Get rid of it, because it's not worthwhile. Now, there's a difference between having a negative self-talk and also having too positive self-talk where you're arrogant and you're not really grounded, and you know, you're kind of getting you know, a big head, a big ego. So, you know, you want to be realistic and fair with yourself and not put yourself down all the time, and maybe not also just blindly think that you're the hot shit that is no problems with you also. You have to be fair with yourself. So pay attention to your self-talk, and if it's not in your favor, amend it, change it, and start thinking in other ways. And say, you know, if you're really beating yourself up inside, give yourself some allowances and say, well, at least I'm good at this and this. And you know what? I'm proud of this achievement that I've had here. You know, it's really important, because you don't want to be your own worst enemy, is what I say right there. Yeah. Trevor's saying Grady was on 10 last night. He went to the free throw line 16 times. He was a badass last night. Yeah, he went to the line 16 times, 14 of them in the first half. And then that water was cut off by the referees. I guess maybe they saw he was becoming too much of a free throw merchant, that they stopped giving him any calls in the second half. It's not that he didn't stop playing. He was still out there playing and doing what he does. It's just that they just stopped blowing the whistle to help him out. You know, the way that we had so many free throws more than them in the first half made me think, you know, this is what referees do sometimes. They'll call in the favor of one team one half, and then they'll call in the favor of the other team in the second half, and they'll even out the calls that way. So I was really expecting by halftime the referees to really fully like endorse and support the Milwaukee Bucks in the second half, seeing as Grady Dick had more free throws than their whole entire team at halftime. That it's like, oh, there's going to be a balancing, James Williams and all them, and they're going to put the Bucks on the line more often in the second half. And that seemed like that was the case, although the Bucks weren't getting to the free throw line as much as they could have in some ways. They weren't aggressive in certain ways. And, well, it is what it is. But yeah, Grady was awesome last night. Grady was the shining star of the game, my number one star of the game. Grady Dick got his career high once again, which is interesting. And it's weird because Grady's getting his career high and he's just adding 1 point to it every time. And in some ways, because he's doing that, he's going to be able to get his career high like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know how many times, because honestly, we thought he was going to go for 40 last night after what he had at halftime, but he only got to 32. And his career high before that was 31. And his career high before that was 30. And his career high before that was 29. It's so weird how he's doing that. 7 of 20 from the field. So not the absolute best shooting, but he kept shooting and he kept going. 4 of 10 from the 3-point line and 14 of 16 at the free throw line. Sometimes Grady misses his free throws when he just has a lapse of concentration. And that is something, you know, he can get better and better as a player only in his second year. One of the things is he has to not lose concentration at the free throw line every once in a while, where he misses a free throw that he shouldn't miss. And Alvin's exactly right. This guy could be a 50, 40, 90 guy, 50% from the field, 40% from three, and 90% at the free throw line. If he really tightens up over his career, he could be that kind of guy, like Larry Bird, like Reggie Miller. And that's what I want to see eventually for Grady. Yeah, it was great. 14 to 16. Loved seeing him get in the line and getting that respect. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 32 points and 38 minutes. Grady was the shining star of the game for sure for the Raptors. And at certain points, carrying more than half of our points, of our point total, because nobody else could get going offensively. It was really, really bad. In fact, there's only 3 players on the Raptors who got double digits last night, and they aren't all 3 of the stars. Although Jakob Poeltl is my second star of the game, he had a frustrating game last night. He wasn't exactly bad, but he wasn't exactly good either. Something was going on last night with people's hands, and maybe this is a symptom of from the long road trip out west, that people were having a hard time catching stuff. People were having a hard time making crisp passes that weren't getting intercepted by defenders on the Bucks. There, people were having trouble closing out and chasing down 50-50 balls off rebounds and loose balls on the floor to beat the Bucks. That's all signs of fatigue. That is all signs that as a unit, as a team, the Toronto Raptors were gassed, absolutely exhausted and gassed out because of the tumultuous long workout of the travel and being on the different time zone. That's another factor we got to factor in is, they've been playing at 10 o'clock Eastern time, 10:30 Eastern time, and now they come back and they got to play at 9 o'clock. The game started at 9 o'clock, right? Last night, or 8? It was at 8. It was at 8. And yeah, just the different time starting can be effective to a team in the NBA. You got to start this night, 7 p.m. Eastern, going out west, and you play a Western team at their time zone. Then you come back to the East. It's really can be off on your circadian rhythm and your body rhythm of the day that you get accustomed to. So, Jakob had bright spots. He was in there fighting. In some ways, Brook Lopez outplayed him and just he played him really well. Jakob and RJ in particular had a really, really hard time making any of their baskets near the hoop. And that really was the presence of Brook Lopez just being a big dummy and being annoying. Very, very annoying. Yak was 6 of 13, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 13 points. It's not like he had a super good game, but that is the second highest scorer for our team from last night. That's crazy. 13 points, the second highest scorer. It's no good. It's like our offense had its nuts chopped off last night. It was really bad, really, really bad. My third star of the game is off the bench, and it's Bruno Fernando. Bruno Fernando injected life into the Raptors in certain ways. In fact, this setting was a setting that could show you why Fernando could be valuable to this team, because he could go in there and do a little bit of stuff against people like Lopez and Antetokounmpo and be somewhat effective. You got to throw out the big weight out there to go up against the big weight. Bruno was 4 of 9. He had 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and 8 points in 18 minutes. Yeah, I thought he did fantastic. And that dunk he had on Giannis was absolutely amazing. Yeah, we're going to talk about that some more in a little bit. So those are my 3 stars of the game: Grady Dick, Jakob Poeltl, and Bruno Fernando. Yeah, I wish it was been somebody else, like RJ Barrett should have been one of the stars of the game. But that man was nullified last night. Nullified. And in some ways, we saw some of the stuff about RJ's game that drove New York Knicks fans crazy in his years of playing on the Knicks. So, that's part of the problem right there. Monique is here. Good to see the super fan. Monique Lawrence. We are so privileged to have Mo in our chat on a regular basis. I love you, Mo. I hope you're having a great morning. Good morning, Raptor Freak family crew. Stars of the game in a loss: Grady, Chris, and Bruno. Things will get better. I know we will. Injuries and after injuries and end of quarter woes continue. Yeah, those are good points. We found out yesterday that Emmanuel Quickly is going to be out for a few weeks, that he has an injury that's similar to what a baseball player would get with his arm. That this is an injury that a baseball player would have to get Tommy John surgery for, is what Emmanuel's got right now. Now, the prognosis from Dr. Ali, Josh Lewenberg's cohort, is that it could be 6 months if he has surgery, which is absolutely awful to hear. If it isn't surgery, it could be he just heals on his own. Then it could be like maybe a month. So yeah, we're gonna miss IQ until December, at least, from what I'm hearing about his injury. Now they're saying that if you're a basketball player and you don't need to do the actions that a baseball player does, Tommy John surgery is not essential to fixing a manual for this. So yeah, it's a weird thing. He's got a baseball injury, guys, and in some ways, at least he plays basketball. I guess that's the bright side of it. I don't know. That's a weird thing right there. But yeah, Chris was pretty good last night. He could have possibly been one of my stars also. And you're exactly right. The end of the quarter, the Raptors are not doing a good job closing quarters, and other teams are getting leads into like the half and different places like that. And that is definitely something the Raptors need to concentrate and work on, is closing out quarters effectively, defensively, and even trying to up your score over the other teams. That's a place where that's crunch time. And that's the place where every quarter a team should be looking at the clock and the way it runs down and acting like it's a fourth quarter and saying this is the end of the game. And if we're in the first quarter and it's 25-23 and we're down, well, we need to hit a three and be 26-25 when that buzzer runs out for the first quarter. I mean, that is a really, really good way for teams to practice winning ways in non-pressurized situations where the game isn't over, but take it seriously like it is and say, yeah, we want to be winning at the end of quarters because they signify the end of a competitive period, and we want to be the team that has more points at the end of it. So this is important, and this is something the Raptors have had problems with even back into Nick Nurse's tenure, of closing out quarters effectively and not letting the other team go on runs to either close the gap that we have a lead over them, or them gaining more of a lead over us by a barrage of scoring in the last 2 minutes of like a quarter. That's no good. That's no good. Trevor J saying Whoopi Goldberg's launched the first sports channel for women. I heard this news yesterday, and I think that's fantastic. It sounds like what she's going to do is she's going to have a deal with all the women leagues like the PWHL and the WNBA, and they're going to show these games around the world so that people have access to them to watch them. I think this is fantastic. And I'm sure there's all kinds of other women leagues that I don't know anything about that they'll put on blast, and they may not necessarily all be in North America. So we may be seeing European women's basketball. We may be seeing hockey from there also. And who knows, maybe soccer. Who knows? Who knows what we'll see? Well, I'm sure we'll see all kinds of good sports. And kudos to Whoopi Goldberg for this endeavor. That's a great endeavor. Monique is saying, contributor of Open Gym, John Butler passed away at 44. A great guy, friend. Well done, Matt, keeping it together. Yeah, that took me by surprise. In the middle of the broadcast last night, they had a moment of silence for a producer of Sportsnet that helps them create content on that channel. And Monique is saying that he also worked on Open Gym. 44 is very young, and that's tragic. That's sad. And I thought that Matt Devlin did a very beautiful tribute to him, very serious and very solemn. And I hate hearing about the stuff like this. I really, really do, especially when there's somebody that is involved in creating things that I enjoy, which is Open Gym and Raptors broadcast. So, yeah, definitely our condolences to the family of John Butler, also from the Raptor Freak family. Yeah, that really caught me off guard because we were watching the game and they don't often do those kind of eulogies in the air all of a sudden out of the blue. But they did it very well. They did it classy, and they even had a brief, very, very brief moment of silence going into the commercial break. But yeah, that's tough. That's tough, man. That's tough. Of course, last night, Vince Carter rejoined Alvin Williams and Matt Devlin in the broadcast booth as the third man. And, once again, Vince was quite good. He's very good at breaking things down, X's and O's, and giving insight. I love hearing him give the scout on how to play Brooke Lopez. He knows a lot about all these players in the league, having played for so long, and a lot of them still playing that he played against and with. So, Vince's insight, and along with the 1-2 punch with Boogie Williams, is absolutely very entertaining. And I like how they were kind of tag teaming in and out as far as like kind of giving the analysis breakdown. At the very beginning of the game, Matt Devlin shaped the game very nicely. And this is really smart because we do not want Vince coming on our broadcast and sounding like he's kind of gleeful or joyful over the Raptors' failures. That is something that could be very hurtful to Raptors Nation, and I'm sure they're very aware of this because at the beginning of the game, they shaped the pregame show with Matt Devlin asking Vince Carter, "What can our team do to win this game today?" And Vince did the part of talking for the Raptors. And then he turned to Alvin and said, "Well, let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, Alvin." So they assigned things pretty well last night. Whereas, like when they were talking about Raptor stuff, Vince was doing the breakdown, and when they talk about Milwaukee stuff, Alvin was doing the breakdown. And that's really, really smart by the producers of the show last night, because we could get in a trap where Vince all of a sudden is verbally saying things that are just not going to make him any more popular around Raptors Nation. Because I've heard him call games down south, and he can be very, yeah, let's just put it that way. But he's very nice, and I like that he's from our perspective, and he's calling them as he's a part of our nation. And that's really important to me. Seriously, it'd be one thing if he showed up for our games and was announcing with Alvin and Matt, and he was kind of being a little jerk, to be honest, because that could easily happen. But he's very well aware of this and cognizant of it, and that's good. I appreciate this, Vince, because in some ways, when you call a game, especially a game like last night, it was ugly and that was not going well in our favor. Your call could shape our opinions of you, because in some ways we want you to analyze a game, but we don't want you to kick us while we're down. And I appreciate Vince for being cognizant of this and signaling that he is in Raptors Nation, that he is proud of being a part of our team history, and that he is a card-carrying qualified alumni of our team once again, after not really being that for 20 years, since he was still playing the league for most of that time and getting boos whenever he came back to Toronto. So this is part of the healing, Vince. In some ways, part of the way that you hurt me and stabbed me in the back was me hearing you call games down in the States and you trashing the Raptors. And in some ways, hearing you on our broadcast and calling things fairly and analytically without kicking us while we're down, it's very, very good. Trust me. And once again, I give you guys very, very high marks for the excellence of your broadcast last night. You guys are funny. Yeah, what was that? At one point, they said cream cheese Louise or something like that. What did you say? You said cheese Louise or something, like cheese please, cream cheese please or something. I don't know what they were saying. They said something about cheese or something like that. It was weird, man. Cheese something was going on at some point. Let's see what else is going on. Trevor's saying battles to fail attempts, dunks, very embarrassing. Yeah, that's Bush League shit. And this is the thing I hate about the newer NBA and the unfundamentalist fundamentals of the younger generation of basketball players that keep coming out, is that's not smart decision making, Jamison Battle. If you're going to get those open layups, they're layups first. You got to gauge whether you should be trying to pull off a specialty dunk in a game like this. That's the problem with this. The mentality of what you're supposed to do in that moment is not go up with one hand and try and do some Eric Cannon Carter shit. Nah, bro, it's above your pay grade for where you are in the league as a rookie who just showed up and not even draft pick. No, you got to go up with two hands and just make sure you make the basket. In fact, you don't even need to dunk it. Just lay it up in there. And the fact that you were trying to go 905 in an NBA Cup game last night, Jamison Battle, is a big no-no to me. Because not only that, you take that dunk, it's embarrassing for our team because it's not fundamentally good. You got to make sure the ball goes in the basket. If you are not throwing that dunk down 100 times a day where you practice it just like a jump shot, you shouldn't be taking a shot like that in an NBA Cup. If you're going to go up and dunk like that, you use two hands, son. You don't go up there with one hand and try and go Air Jordan. Nah, dog, because you're going to hit the back of the rim and embarrass our whole team. And that happened twice. He had two open dunks that he flubbed because he tried to be too extra special. And in some ways, easy and simple is better. And this is why a lot of guys, when they get the open court to go fast break, they're laying it up and they're not even trying to throw it down. A lot of the younger guys, the smaller players, like Fred VanVleet, do you think he gets an open court, he's going to try and go up there and dunk it, even though he probably could? No, he's going to lay it up because he knows that is the right move in that moment. And that's why in some ways I'm like, Jamison Battle, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're making us look like G League on an NBA Cup game. Yeah, they could do that shit down there in College Park tonight with Charlie Brown Jr. He can do some knucklehead move like that. But, bro, you're on national television. This is the NBA Cup. Stop fucking around. Just lay it up, all right? That's what I got to say. Because it's not good basketball. You erase points from us, and that's just not winning basketball. I'm sorry. Be better than trying to make a highlight like that. You're not Bruno Fernando. Bruno Fernando can get away with that because he's bigger, stronger, and he's done shit like that. And in fact, he did do that shit last night. He did do that shit last night. So, yeah, I'm not happy with Jamison Battle for trying to do those dunks when he could have easily just laid it in and made the points instead of embarrassing us all. This is not a good look. Let's look at the rest of the Raptors on the box score. Davion Mitchell is just not dependable for scoring. He may be the backup for IQ. He's going to come out there and do a good job defensively and do some other stuff, but good at setting people up. But he's not going to be able to score for us, and that is a detriment. In some ways, they're lagging off of him and daring him to shoot, and he's missing. And this is no good. He's got to get those shots again. 0 for 2 from the field. He only took 2 shots, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers, 8-3 turnover ratio. That's not totally horrible, but, still 1 point as a starter in a game like last night, 33 minutes, that's not going to cut it, Mitchell. You're going to have to find your points one way or another, whether it's in transition or from open threes. You're going to have to find them. RJ Barrett, really a nightmare game for him last night. In some ways, this guy didn't crack double digits last night. That's crazy. RJ's just like the truth. He's just going to come through in the end. But it didn't happen last night. He was stymied and stopped. In some ways, he got stopped down low by Brook Lopez and Giannis and Bobby Portis too much that he started hearing footsteps walking behind him. And then he started second-guessing himself in the second half, and he was throwing away. He's throwing passes to people when he should have finished strong at times. He got a little scared of trying to take it himself because of the interior defense. Well, this is what I'm wondering about right here. RJ Barrett, if your three's not hitting and you're not able to get through the wall of the Bucks defenders right by the basket, where's your midi, bro? Where's your midi? Come on, man. Read the game. Read the game. I've seen you. You got a mid-range shot you could take. You guys should have been going midi. I know everybody hates the mid-range in the NBA at this point, but last night was one of those games where you're not making your threes because you're just not hitting them. You're not doing well, and you can't establish anything down low to build out inside out to. You got to go to the mid-range then and start trying to find those shots. And the only person that was doing that was Grady Dick. Was the only one was inhabiting the mid-range geography of the court. And in some ways, I needed you to do that, RJ. It can't all be just barreling to the basket and trying to lay it up or taking open threes that you ain't hitting. It's got to be somewhere where you find a spot where they aren't going to be and you can go get them. In fact, if you start making that midi a little bit, maybe you'll start making the three, and then all of a sudden you're drawing out the defenders out of the paint, and then you open up the lane for people to make shots finally because Brook Lopez has to actually come out of there. So, yeah, that was a big problem. In some ways, they're not reading this correctly. In some ways, we're a very smart IQ team, like with a high basketball IQ, but in some ways, we still don't understand exactly the remedy for the ailment in the moment of what's happening in the game. And that is the thing I saw last night. I was like, man, why do we go away from the mid-range as a whole in the NBA? Because it's a part of the game that absolutely needs to be still involved. Because in some ways, it's an emergency release to get out of situations like the Raptors were in when their offense was stagnating last night. 3 of 14 from the field. That is a really, really bad shooting night for RJ. This may have been his worst game this season so far. 1 of 5 from 3, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 5 turnovers, minus 23. The highest minus for the Raptors last night was 7 points in 31 minutes. Yeah, it's too bad when you don't have B and Q. When you're B, you're out of fuel for the barbecue. You went to go crank it up and heat it up because you want to put some steaks and burgers and hot dogs on it, but you go out there and you find out the propane tank is empty and you can't even start it up. That's what happened last night. We didn't have no barbecue. We didn't have no Q. We didn't have no B. We had a B and Barrett, and that barbecue just wouldn't fire up. And it's just too bad. It's just how it is. Abaji was okay. I'm not going to say Abaji had a bad game. He didn't score as much as he has recently, but he was tasked with trying to slow down Giannis, and he did very admirable, honestly. Giannis Antetokounmpo could have been way more dominant and crazy, and at least Abaji was a road speed bump in front of him in different ways and trying to slow him down. And he was very effective at doing that at times. In fact, it was stark the contrast when Abaji wasn't on him and Giannis was able to operate without Oshai on him, that you could see the difference. And that was specifically Grady that was getting put on Giannis at times, and Giannis was just eat him for lunch, eat him for lunch. Abaji 3 for 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, so he still had his corner threes going, pretty good. He did miss one wide open one, which was kind of because he shoots 70% over there. 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 1 block, 3 turnovers, 8 points in 35 minutes. Once again, you have 3 starters that are playing 30 plus minutes, and for the whole 16 points between the 3 of them. That is bad. That's very, very bad as far as just not getting point production from your players. And once again, you got to give so much credit to the Bucks interior defense. Absolutely. As we put a Giannis wall up, well, they put a wall up against our whole entire team, and it was right around the net, and it was Brook Lopez mostly. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Off the bench, Monique's third star, Chris Boucher, 5 of 12 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 5 rebounds, 12 points. It's so crazy because this year, Chris Boucher, with his threes, I have confidence in him like crazy. He has a new level of confidence. He's taking threes that he really shouldn't take completely. But in some ways, he's had such a good shooting year for 3 that it's like a new era of Chris Boucher. That in some ways, Chris is more like Gary Trent Jr. this year with taking threes than he was last year. Kind of like, oh, he's just going to take threes when he gets some open. And it's not really we're calling him something. He's actually a sought out, looked for 3-point shooter for the Raptors this year. And it's okay because his percentage is good. So, yeah, Chris was pretty good. 12 points in 20 minutes, minus 11, 5 rebounds, throw those in too. That's pretty good. Jamison Battle, as I said, missed 2 dunks. He was 2 of 4. So if he had made those dunks, he would have been 4 of 4. And in some ways, he could have easily made them and had 8 points last night instead of 4. But, yeah, Jamison, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and embarrassing us with missed dunks. That's kind of what was there. Jonathan came in for just a bit. He was a goose egg in 11 minutes with 2 offensive rebounds, 1 steal, and a block. So he was active and a little bit out there. But in some ways, a game like last night against big vets like Lopez and Portis is not necessarily the place where you want your rookies out there and they could get exposed and taught some lessons because they're so green and so unripe in this league. They just don't have the experience. And these old heads can really trick young guys like Jonathan Mobo in certain ways that you wouldn't even think. So, yeah, it's tough. Garrett Temple made a cameo appearance. He was activated yesterday when we saw that Emmanuel Quickley was not going to be available. We had to have enough players to play. So he only had 2 minutes out there. He ended up getting 1 offensive rebound, and that's about it. And then Jamal Shed, scoreless also. So that's the thing. We got 16 points from 3 of our starters, and then off the bench, we only got 24 points off our bench. So you do the math. That's what? That's 40 points altogether as far as from a majority of our team. That's 40 points from a majority of our team, and only 2 guys got the rest of the points. 2 guys, Grady and Jakob, got the rest of the points. So it's really bad. One of the things I didn't like about it is that the Raptors have not had trouble scoring like this at all this season. There were a little bit of signs of this on this road trip when they were getting tired. So it really is a symbol of when they're tired, they can't score. And, man, I hate seeing the anemic offensive scoring. They've been so good at getting points, and we've been having such a high scoring average for our team this season as far as getting 130 in a game, 120. So seeing the score around 60 and late in the third, almost in the fourth, for us is kind of dismaying, because that was one of the things that I was saying that, all right, I don't mind us losing because we're driving and we're getting a lot of points and we're not having any offensive stallouts. Well, some of that stuff reared its ugly head last night, and it was really discouraging in some ways. And in fact, I could tell in the post-game press conference with Darko and Grady, they were discouraged and not very – they're worn out, man. You could tell. Like, in the end of the game, they were both so tired and sitting in there. And Darko, he wasn't really mad at the players in his post-game conference. He kind of said, I'm very proud of my guys for playing their heart out and playing as much as they could with their energy at this time to do what they did. And that's really acknowledging that these guys are absolutely tired from this road trip. And that makes sense. They're a younger team that hasn't been through this, a lot of them. and they're learning, and there's a lot of stuff to that. So he wasn't that mad. He really was happy with the effort, even if the effort was half a step slow and just not getting there before the Bucks. And in some ways, we were very careless. I really hate these half-ass passes that kind of get pushed, and then all of a sudden just jump in the passing lane and they're running the other way. There's been a lot of half-ass passing by the Raptors on this road trip that we got to clean up. You can't be throwing these passes that are like very susceptible to getting intercepted. And there was a lot of that. There was some last night. Some of it's RJ passing the ball kind of half-assed. Davion Mitchell, that one pass they like to do in the lane where they have a cutter and they throw it through traffic. That's not smart. And Vince even called out some of the guys at one point saying that you got to look and see where the traffic is. You got to see where the defense is and kind of try and get away from them. It's like trying to pass the ball through people's knees right in the middle of the lane when there's so many people around. That's going to get deflected, and that's going to turn into a turnover, especially when these guys have such long arms. I mean, have you seen Anakumto? He has such long arms. He can just reach down and tap the ball. If you try to push it by his ankles, Jakob or whoever else it is, yeah, that was a big problem. We were not successful at all with connecting on the backdoor cut and the little low pass through the lane at any point last night. There was not a single one of those plays that was right. And the Milwaukee defense was scouted for that on us, and they absolutely stopped any of those opportunities. And that really hurt because that kind of hurt our whole offense get going. And the other factor that was a big factor in why our offense was stymied and having a hard time getting going at any time was the 2 early quick fouls on Jakob. We've seen this before by referees. They'll throw 2 fouls on a key player that's absolutely essential for a team, and they have to sit, and it really does hurt them. In some ways, the switch of Jakob Poeltl to Bruno Fernando coming in the game is just not the same as a passing hub in the middle. They tried to do it with Bruno at times last night, but he failed. In some ways, there was one play where he held the ball for way too long. He passed up on 2 of the handoffs, and then he just got stuck in no man's land. You should have handed it off to either that first guy, and the second guy came around. You didn't even hand it to him. So what are you doing, Bruno, in the shot clock, just standing there holding the ball and running our shot clock out? Well, you have no offensive game where you can go on one-on-one to beat their defense to get your own shot. Why the hell didn't you hand it off to one of them as they ran by you? That is stuff like that. It's like Bruno is not going to be the replacement for Jakob on the offense to be the catalyst, the hub that stirs the drink and gets other guys really good shot opportunities. It's just not in his player build. In some ways, Bruno has all kinds of good attributes, but he can't fill that in. But you know who could? Kelly Olynyk. If Kelly Olynyk had been available last night, he could have been that plug-in and play after Jakob to be able to do that kind of stuff. So the injuries are really a huge problem right now. We look at our record. We're the worst team in the league right now, and we've won 2 games. And if it goes out the whole rest of the year like this, we're on pace to win 12 games this year, guys. If we are exactly like this for the rest of the year, which we won't be because the schedule will get easier and we'll get healthier. But if we stay at this pace of winning right now, we're going to have 12 victories at the end of this NBA season. And that's crazy. I ain't about that. We need to get things going because I ain't going to have less than half of the victories we had last year. Come on now, Raptors. We got to get it out of the mud. Scotty, get healthy and get back to W's, man. That's what I'm saying right there. But yeah, Shed ineffective and showing rookie stuff there. 0 for 2, 0 for 1 from 3, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers. So a 2-to-2 assist to turnover ratio, that's nulligated. 2 for 2, that's no good, my guy. A -12 also in 12 minutes. So yeah, Shed not helping with the offense. And in some ways that makes sense. Those shorter guards, Mitchell and Shed, they're not going to be able to score against that tall-ass Milwaukee Bucks defense. If RJ Barrett can't, and none of them should be going in trying to score on them on the inside. I was saying the mid-range was the medicine y'all needed to take last night. They didn't take it, though. They didn't take it. So, yeah, there we go. Monique saying worst game by RJ. Yeah, it really was like one of the worst Raptors games in his career, for sure. And you see where the criticalness of the Knicks Nation about some of the things that it does play. There is a little bit of hero ball there. There's a little bit of like trying too hard for himself in certain ways. Some of the stuff that when he was trying to pass, he failed because his passes were getting picked off. Yeah, it was just a tough game for him. In some ways, the intensity was ratcheted up, and the Raptors were fatigued from this road trip, and they could not match the whole scenario to be a competitive team last night. They seemed like they were doing pretty good in the first half, but once again, and Isaac called this in our chat. Isaac, in some ways, I was annoyed when you did this, but he was exactly right. He's saying they're going to be absolutely gassed in the second half. Watch. He said that in our Raptor Freak chat, and I was like, man, I hope Isaac's not right, but he was. He was. And in some ways, being able to run around and keep up with them in the first half to keep the game kind of close. And then, getting blown open in the second half and just not being able to compete anymore. It's too bad. It is what it is. Nako's here. Nako the Nacho, good morning to you. I salute you, my good friend. Bucks just looked like they had an answer for everything except Grady. At least in the other losses, it felt like we had control of the game at some point. Yeah, that's why in some ways this is one of the worst games this year. The first game of the season, Cleveland, and this one are the two worst games of the season for the Raptors so far. And, we just didn't compete. But, the scenario and what I've been painting the picture of is all true as far as the schedule makers, the referees, and also the home court advantage for Milwaukee, and also the fact that that's a playoff veteran team that has won a championship in the last 5 years. And, that has to be all taken into account of. As much as Denver is going to beat us in 2 overtime games, just slightly beating us where we play and really compete with them, well, Milwaukee has the championship just like Denver. And in some ways, we got to remember that there's a lot of veteran experience on that Milwaukee Bucks team, and they know how to play a grinded out, slow it down, low scoring game with a lot of defensive stuff in it. In some ways, they were happy to play a team like us last night because as much as they were missing all kinds of outside shots, so were we. They play a team like the Celtics, and the Celtics bomb their threes, and they're in trouble, and they lose. So, oh, man, I hate this factor of it. Milwaukee's been really wallowing in their own shit and not very happy this season so far. Well, we gave them a ray of sunshine and something for them to kind of build off of to feel better. In some ways, I don't like that. At times, the Raptors can be deflating to a team because they beat them and they weren't supposed to beat a team. They can also be very helpful to a team that's struggling, that needs a win, like the Milwaukee Bucks last night. Well, apparently the Milwaukee Bucks going to play again tonight. They're going to see the Detroit Pistons tonight. And, of course, we'll see the Pistons at home on Friday in our second in-season tournament game. Now, the schedule makers is not very fair with this one either. We got to play the Pistons on Friday night here in the in-season tournament, and then immediately go to Boston and play the Celtics on Saturday night on the second night of a back-to-back. This is why Darko has to be like Eckhart Tolle. Now is now, and now is only now. And even if last night these guys were kind of thinking about, well, we're going to be back home from this long road trip finally, that can get in their head and kind of make them kind of more lackadaisical, like I was saying earlier. Well, on Friday, they could be looking past Detroit because they was thinking, oh, we're going to play the champions on Saturday. And don't do that. The Celtics don't exist until the end of the game on Friday night, and that buzzer goes off for the final buzzer on Friday night in Scotiabank Arena. So don't get ahead of yourselves and let the matchup with the Celtics in Boston on Saturday night cloud your what you're going to do against the Pistons. Don't get ahead of yourself. That's my advice on that one. And I know Darko's being very much like what I just said with them. I know he has. He really has. Let's see. Trevor's saying Bucks had a good plan to stop RJ from driving down the lane, so put Giannis and Lopez to stop him. Yeah, those two guys are really effective defensively. They are really, really tough. Like, nothing came easy, and it wasn't just even RJ. Jakob had a really hard time making shots down around the basket also, and that's not normal. Jakob can figure out his ways to score against most teams in this league, but Brook Lopez, I don't know if he's just the right combination of size and dirtiness. But yeah, that dude was doing stuff down low. It could also be that the Bucks front line realized that we FIBA-fied the rules a bit, and they can get away with a little bit more. So they may be even better than they were last year because the whistle's different, because they're allowing way more contact underneath the basket. And they were utilizing it. There's all kinds of stuff that they do with holding and hitting and just kind of getting people off their shot and their balance that's very effective. And that's why people are missing so much right around the basket, because there's a lot more going on there than you can actually see with your eyes in real time. There's stuff going on with hands and shoving and kind of placement in place. And there's so many people down there and it's crowded. You don't see it all but Brooke is doing it. Trust me, he's doing it down there. Smooth saying, last game of the long road trip, Raptors look tired and pissed. Brighter days ahead. Yeah, Grady specifically looked pissed after the game. You think a guy who just had his career high, he'd feel good. But no, he's done that a couple times. It's old news. And honestly, they really are at the point where they really do need to win another game. They won their last game, the last game before they went on this road trip, and they went 0-5 on this road trip. And I know that's not a goal that they had or wanted. In some ways, they're learning the lessons of the NBA that when you do get close games that you have a chance to win, like we've had this year, you need to absolutely take those games because winning in the NBA is absolutely hard. And they have to understand this. They can't take anything for granted. They have to do everything as perfect as possible, and they have to do better if they're going to actually connect to the point where they get W's at the end of games. So, yeah, it's tough, man. It is tough. It is tough. All right, it jumped all the way to the bottom. Let me make sure I don't miss it. By the way, good to see you. Superfan saying turnovers, and more turnovers. All right, let's do the team stats since Monique has brought those up right now. Let's see what the team stats look like to us all. All right, yeah, they shot way better than us last night. In fact, we shot worse from the field than we shot from three last night, and that's Grady mostly, right? We shot 35% from the field, and we shot 36% from three. Wait, what? No, that's a symptom of Brook Lopez and Giannis down low. Giannis really is a very top-level defensive player. He's just a shit disturber all over the place. And he does really get his hands on things with steals and blocks and just really kind of all kinds of stuff. He may be actually, in my mind, he may be a better defensive player than an offensive player. Seriously, guys. Seriously. That's the way I feel about Giannis right now. But yeah, we shot 35% overall, but we shot better outside. That's a symptom of a team closing it down around the basket. Right there, the other team. 9 of 25 from three. They shot so many threes last night. 56 attempts with 16 made. They shot really bad from three, 29%, because they did shoot really bad. But yeah, they manufactured 8 more field goal attempts than us. That was them hustling or getting offensive rebounds or just getting more turnovers than us. I mean, more points off turnovers than us. Then free throws, we actually can't say there was a free throw discrepancy against us last night. We got more free throws than them, 8 more attempts, 16 to 20. So we shot 80%. I can't say that the free throw misses were a problem with last night. I don't think that was what it was. We out-rebounded them 54 to 47, including 17 offensive rebounds. That's really good. Assists, 29 assists. 20 assists to 25 for them. We had a hard time connecting. I just kind of went over that. The half-ass passing, them having long wingspans, Giannis factor, getting in there and being shit disturbers on us, trying to cultivate and stir our offense around with the passing and what we like to do was just not possible. They stifled it. So we only got 20 assists last night. 16 steals for the Bucks last night. That's crazy. We had 11 ourselves, though. 22 turnovers, as Mo just said. That's way too much. In fact, we allowed them 28 points off of turnovers last night, and we lost by 14. So you got to clean those up. Vince wasn't joking when he said in these kind of games that are grinded out Eastern Conference old school style, turnovers matter so much. And you really got to take care of the ball. Man, maybe Vince should be a coach. Maybe we should get Vince down there and get him on the coaching staff with the Raptors. Vince, are you cool enough with the Raptors at this point that you'll come and be an assistant coach under Darko? Because we could do this, man, because you do know what you're talking about when you're on the broadcast. Fast break points, they beat us 23 to 16. And points in the paint absolutely dominated us, 40 to 34. That's the weird number right there because, the Raptors are not a good three. Usually we have a very high number in the points in the paint, but we didn't. 34 points of our points, less than half of them were not in the paint. That's just how much they made us struggle. And I guess it was Coach Darvin Ham and Doc Rivers really coming up with a really good game plan for how to deal with our particular team. And they did a good job. In some ways, I have to say Doc Rivers did a really good job getting the Bucks in the right kind of game plan to do what they did last night. Because 34 points in the paint, we've been getting like 60 points in the paint on average in most of these games we've been playing recently. So they really closed it out for us in there. That's too bad. The team stats say it all. Turnovers and not able to do anything inside is too bad, man. Nako's saying this is the worst game this season so far. It's definitely the worst game offensively this season. I don't know if it's the worst game this season, though. But maybe you're right. And in some ways, maybe partly because the stakes were higher and it being a NBA Cup game. Yeah. Trevor's saying happy game day for the 905. Let's go. All right. Let's go see who the referees are for the 905 game at College Park Skyhawks tonight. Kaja Mula is the crew chief tonight, number 79. Binama Maru is the referee, number 45. And the umpire is Charles Watson, number 60. Of course, we lost to the Skyhawks on Monday night in a game that we could have easily won if we just cleaned up things a little bit better over the course of the game. So let's see a better performance tonight against Andrew Jones. And I don't want to see Charlie Brown Jr. in the starting lineup again tonight. I seriously don't. I feel like for what he did on Monday night, you need to bench him and maybe even DMP him tonight, because he needs to get a message that if you want to be a professional basketball player, you better be professional. Because I didn't see anything professional about what that man was doing out there with his body language, the way he was half-ass shooting, half-ass running, and free throws, and all the different things he was doing out there. It was garbage. So, yeah, don't start him again tonight. Please, Andrew Jones. Please do not start Charlie Brown again. Seriously, or I'll be saying good grief. Seriously. But, yeah, we saw them. We got to beat them. Kevon Harris and Hauser's brother and that guy, John Keel. Yeah, we need to beat them tonight. We need to even the score. And in some ways, if we're going to have the worst record in the league on the NBA level, we need to have a bright spot on the development level, and we need to be winning down there. Because seriously, I don't want to be watching else on both leagues for our organization. The bright spot is going to be G League. So y'all need to win tonight so that we can smile as Raptors freaks, because we have not had a whole lot to smile about this season at all. The other factor, it was a big part of why the Raptors have been losing, is the injuries. That's obviously a big part of it. You have a certain percentage of your salary cap sitting on street clothes on that bench. Bruce Brown's a big part of our salary cap also, 20 million. So, Emmanuel Quickly, Scotty Barnes, those are the two highest paid players on our team, I believe. RJ is one of them too. But yeah, that's a big problem right there. And that is a big part of why we're struggling, is we got too many guys wearing regular clothes on the bench. And that's no good. Fiercey's here. Good to see MJ. Good morning, fam, and happy Wednesday. We definitely showed signs of fatigue yesterday. Extremely sloppy on turnovers. RJ had a rough night. Happy for Grady on his career high, though. Yeah. That's a good synopsis. That's a good kind of, the fatigue was a factor. RJ had he couldn't carry us. In some ways, what can we do? And Grady's trying to carry us, and he's trying to do as much as he can in a very, very heroic way. Grady's awesome, man. Grady is so awesome. And, when we're having problems with our offense, it's so nice to have a player that's worked so hard on his basketball game for so long, that he's fundamentally so good that, even if the shots aren't going for us and we don't have a rhythm as a team, he can get us back into rhythm just because he's such a sure shot. That is a very, very good trait of Grady Dick, because he's got no conscience. He has got no memory. And even if the whole team is bricking shots and can't make a score, he doesn't care about that. He's just going to take the shot like he always does, and hopefully it's going to go through the net. And that's the thing I like about him right there. Most saying, hopefully 905 pick it up this game. That's right. Lessen the turnovers. In fact, I've seen this parallel happen before between the 905 and the Raptors. The 905 has a shit the bed kind of poorly executed game where they're not taking care of the ball. They're playing poorly, missing free throws, not making smart decisions. And all of a sudden, I see it mirrored on the upper level. So 905, play better so that it kind of osmoses to the big club as far as they're going to play better. The vibes will be better, because in some ways, y'all playing so unprofessional on Monday night. I don't know how it indirectly leads to the Raptors playing so bad last night. But I'm just saying, if it's the vibes around the team, well, get your head out of your ass, 905. And I don't want to see any kind of crap like last year under Eric Curry. Y'all got to be better. And Andrew Jones, I have a lot of faith in you. I think that you're going to be fantastic. But y'all need to start collecting wins. And if you have more losses than wins in the 905 level, I'm going to be pissed off this year. Y'all need to be winning this year. Y'all have a very good team. And it'd be stupid if y'all aren't. Boss Take Charge is here. Good to see Boss Take Charge returning to the Raptor Freak chat. Always good to see you check in. I'm sorry, Carlson would help us more than Battle. Battle needs more spacing. Battle is a sure shot. I have more faith in Battle, kind of like what I was just talking about Grady. He's a fundamentally good shooter, and in some ways, he can get us out of bad parts too. Carlson is a good three-point shooter also, but let's not get it twisted. Grady Dick and Jamison Battle are in that club with Sam Hauser. They're in that club with Max Strus. They're in that club with, these kind of shooters around the NBA that are known three-point shooters that just bomb and make a lot of shots. And Brandon Carlson, in some ways, yeah, he could be in that club also, but not really, because he's not the same kind of three-point shooter as those guys. It's about the technique. It's about the fundamentals. It's about the way they shoot, and it's about the way the ball goes. In some ways, Brandon Carlson's a three-point shooter like Chris Boucher is. And if you understand what I'm saying, you understand the difference. It's not like Chris is a sure shot like Jamison and Grady. Those guys are very sure shotted. If they're open and they got that shot, they're like a trigger to a gun. It's going to go. But with Chris, there's a range of success with him as far as shooting threes, and Brandon Carlson the same thing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's the right trade-off. Some people are very much second guessing the two-way coming off of Brandon Carlson and going to Jamison Battle. But it's interesting. Most of the time they're dissing Bruno Fernando and saying that we should have him. But you're saying it's Battle that maybe isn't. That's an interesting thought exercise. If they did switch Battle back off the two-way and gave it to Carlson. The one thing I will say is the difference is Carlson can be picked up by any NBA team right now currently. Now, if we switch him, Battle could be that person instead. And it could be in some ways Battle is a more dangerous weapon to be going to another team and being stolen from us. I think that's part of it also. Some ways we lose Carlson. I'm not that upset about it. I know a lot of people would say they would be and stuff. Oh my gosh, we should have kept him on a two-way. All of a sudden he's now on this team doing that. Well, so be it. If he's doing that well and he makes it to that point, he should be allowed to go to another team like that. But to me, I'm not looking at that as like the end of the world. I'm not. I would be more worried about Jamison Battle going to another team and going somewhere else. At least me personally. But everybody can have different opinions on this. Fiercely saying not only does Brook Lopez offer rim protection, but he also hits threes. He was a threat and a problem yesterday. Yeah, the threes also added to the whole mix of things too. Definitely on both ends he's an issue. Yeah, he's been in the league a long time and he does something well. He only hit 2 out of 10 though, so it's not like he was shooting extra that good. A plus 18 for Brook Lopez, 5 of 14 overall from the field. That's not very good shooting. So offensively he wasn't efficient, but he was very, very, very dominant on defense. That's for sure. 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 13 points for Brook Lopez. It seems like he would have had more points. He was such a factor on the defensive end. Giannis, 9 of 12 from the field, 5 of 9 at the free throw line. His free throws are a trip. They're pretty funny. 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 blocks, and 4 turnovers, 23 points in 33 minutes. It's not like Giannis had a super great game either. He got a stat stuff in, and he did pretty good stuff overall. He was absolutely the most talented player on the court last night, but he didn't really get going offensively, and I got to give some credit to Ochai Agbaji for that, as in some ways he could have been way more crazy on offense than he was last night. So there was at least some success in that. I also found that that guy, Bobby Portis, he was a problem on the down low. 17 points, 8 of 17 from the field, 8 rebounds for him. So he was a little bit annoying in there also. Also, their guards that were rookies were very interesting. They were kind of annoying. That AJ Green guy was kind of annoying, and then the Rollins guy. They were the thing that they were a factor with was they had a lot of youthful energy that was out hustling our youthful energy because our youthful energy was fatigued. And Rollins and Green were very good at chasing down the and doing a lot of the hustle play that the Bucks needed last night. And that was a factor from them. So, yeah, it's tough. It is what it is. And Brook Lopez was a huge factor in the game last night. Huge factor. Fiercely saying 2 early fouls on Jakob. Come on. Yeah. And they were at both ends of the court. In fact, one of them was near the basket on defense, and then they called the moving screen for the second one. And that was the first time Rodney Mott threw an offensive foul on a screen on Jakob Poeltl within the first minute of the game. And that put 2 fouls on him before we even got the 11-minute mark. And, well, that's a huge detriment to the Raptors, seeing as, the depth at that position for our team is not very good. That is ref manipulation. That is shaping the game right from the start. That is Fred VanVleet getting 2 fouls against Philadelphia a couple years ago in the playoffs in a very crucial game 5. Yeah, that's that kind of stuff right there. That they can saddle a very key important player for a team with two fouls right at the beginning of the game. That can change the course of the game throughout the whole entire game because that player has to sit because of foul trouble. And that was something that I saw right away. I was like, okay, that's part of the ref hit job right there. They're going to put 2 fouls on Jakob within the first minute of the game. Yeah, that's a ref hit job right there. Because this is the thing. As much as Brook Lopez is willing to and able to go and do whatever he wants physically around the basket, Jakob is second guessing things because he has to start thinking about his foul problems. And he may be holding back and not playing all out the way he can. And then you got Brook Lopez in that environment just going all out. Yeah, that's the difference between a Jakob being able to be aggressive and physical and have contact because he's thinking about the whistle. So that's a big factor right there in how things went down last night. That's right. Let's see. Seymour saying prayers for Kyle Sigler, who's dealing with mental health issues. We're here for you. Yeah, this is just a development season. Yeah, true to that. Thank you, Sheriff, for saying that. City Slicker, I agree with that. It's a development season. We're learning, we're developing, and we're learning the highs and lows and the ups and downs of an NBA season and what it means to be in the NBA for our young guys. Yeah, Kyle Sigler, sad to hear about this. Former NBA player having mental health issues and crying out on social media. But the outpouring of support from people like Kevin Love and his former teammates around the NBA has been very inspiring. Once again, this is DeMar DeRozan's realm of talk, and that people are getting the stigma about having mental health problems over with, and letting people get help and not feel like they're getting judged or ostracized for having mental health issues. So I really do like seeing the support that's coming out for Kyle right now. It's very, very inspiring. Jimmy's here. Bruno played pretty good last night. That poster, sheesh. And speaking of that, Jimmy, Pope of Positivity, bringing in a positive point of view. Let's go look at the Instagram stories for today. First, we've got Oshai. He's got the all-time winningest coach in Kansas history is Bill Self. It's legendary. So these Kansas guys are celebrating their former coach for getting a victory and becoming the all-time winningest coach in Kansas history. That's pretty cool. That's very, very cool. Let's see what else. Yuta Watanabe saying something in Japanese. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you. Slim Duck's got this crazy kid who's being held, and he's saying, when all the women you don't want are for real, applying pressure. That's pretty funny. He's got an interesting romantic life, I'll bet, Chris Boucher. And he's probably got a very interesting kind of like social life. He's got his real ones. He's got everybody's uncle. He's got, some of his day oneers that are around him all the time. He's got his mom. But then he's probably got all kinds of other people that are around him in his life. And some of them may be trifling him. I don't know. Either way, Chris, we love you, man. I'm so glad that you're at the place where you are with the Raptors right now. And it's a lot more steady what your future, and like, I don't know your future, but it's a lot more steady your role on the team. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, that here he's got the dunk that we just talked about with Jimmy on Giannis Antetokounmpo. And it's a funny angle because it kind of looks like Giannis is up in the air and he's kind of riding on Bruno. It's kind of weird. If you go look at the picture on Slim Duck's Instagram stories, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, Bruno really dunked it on him. And it's funny because, Giannis is not a bashful defender. He will challenge somebody coming to dunk on him, but he changed his mind real quick when Fernando was coming and it got out of the way. He didn't try to challenge it, and the dude just dunked it on him. It was pretty cool. So Slim Duck is celebrating that great dunk by Fernando last night. Fernando on his Instagram is showing himself coming into the Lakers game, coming by the crypto marquee. Los Angeles Lakers versus Toronto Raptors, looking cool in his black and white stripes. A little bit looking like a referee. A little bit looking like a referee. There's Grady coming in the game for last night. That look like slippers, and he's got a black and blue kind of jacket on, looking like he's ready to come to business and get his career high once again. There he is shooting a shot over them. Really, really nice form. I'm telling you, he's a sure shot. It's just a sure shot. Career high, 32 points for Grady Dick. And there's his celebration of Kansas. This is Bill Self on becoming the all-time winningest coach for Kansas. So the Kansas guys are very proud of their former coach right now. Scotty Barnes has got this poor bicyclist about to go on a race, and there's a thing going to open up, and they're going to ride. And somebody does the noise of the opening up, the head of before they open it up, and the person falls over on the bike and Scotty thinks it's funny. In some ways, that's kind of mean, but it is kind of comical and funny too. But yeah, either way, it wasn't a real race because they were the only person lined up, so it can't be that bad. Also, Scotty showing off the Bruno dunk. Also, he's big time on that Bruno Fernando dunk on Giannis. It was very nice, and maybe a very much one of the few bright spots last night, along with Grady Dick's performance. So yeah, Bruno, thank you for a great poster. Thank you. Lloyd, what about Lloyd? Scotty's friend Lloyd is celebrating the Kentucky Wildcats' victory over the Duke Blue Devils in basketball. 77-72. There you go, Bryce Lawson. Kentucky's in the house with Lloyd. Wubbs has got this posted, and Manuel went and reposted it afterwards. And this is applying to both of them with their re-injuring themselves recently. It's an anime clip, and it's saying, why is this happening to me? What is this to teach me? What is this teaching me? What is this teaching me? Yeah, so both of them, the shoulder for Jacoby and Emmanuel with the new elbow injury are, why is this happening to me? I hate this. I want to be out there competing and helping my team, and it's annoying. But they're trying to look inwardly to see what the lesson is in all of this as they get better and come back and heal from their injuries. So yeah, I like that sentiment. And yeah, what is this teaching you? You get all zen and philosopher like a monk and look inward and meditate on this, guys. And you will be better and stronger men for it. I'm telling you, Jacoby Walter and Emmanuel quickly. So you go on and do that. There's a shot by Jamal Shed over Austin Reeves when we're playing the Lakers on Wubbs, and he's celebrating Jalen Bridges dominating the G League on the Valley Suns right now, guys. So yeah, we're going to see the Valley Suns. They're a brand new G League team just this year. They're going to be coming to Mississauga in January. And if things go well on December the 8th, we're going to do a Raptor Freak meet and greet at Paramount Fine Food Center, Mississauga on December the 8th, 2 o'clock, Westchester Knicks game. If that goes really well and it's enjoyable and we like it, maybe we'll go again immediately in January to the Valley Suns game when they come to Paramount also. So let's get a good turnout for the G League game on December the 8th. And maybe we'll do it again right away next year in January also. So look into that, guys. And please come and go to the Raptors 905 game with me on the 8th of January next month at Paramount 5 Food Centers. It's a Sunday game at 2 p.m. So a lot of people should be able to get there. So we'll have to see. Let's see. Jacoby's also got the dunk by Bruno on Giannis also. They're all celebrating this. Shamshay celebrating Fernando's huge dunk on Giannis, also our young prince. Matt Devlin celebrating his broadcast crews. First, Kayla and Jack with him from the Laker game. And then the picture of Savannah, Vince Carter, and Alvin and him from last night. Yeah, Matt works with some really, really good people, honestly. Jack Armstrong, Alvin Williams, Kayla Gray, Savannah Hamilton. Oh, yeah, and Vince. Davion Mitchell showing his warm-ups before the games, him walking into the game at Milwaukee. And there is him in the warm-ups before the game shooting fadeaways. Yeah, Davion, you got to get your offense up. Norman Powell got a new bobblehead, and he's really happy with it. He's like, I think he's pretty honored. I don't know how many bobbleheads Norman's gotten. Did we make a bobblehead of him up here in Toronto? Maybe we did. But he's like, yeah, here's my little homie. He's taking it out of the box. And he's so happy. It's like, it is a rite of passage to get your own bobblehead. Seriously. That's how you know you've arrived as an NBA player. You get a bobblehead. You know what I'm saying? There's a Raptors admins official warm-up videos and different things they were doing before the game. RJ in his green shoes. Yeah, it's just too bad this game didn't go better. It was an opportunity. You look at their record. You look at how they're struggling. Well, we helped them out. They didn't have to struggle so much against us anymore. Jamal McGlure is putting on blast the league, the WNBA Toronto channel, which doesn't have a very many subscriptions. Y'all should go ahead and follow up WNBA Toronto's channel. Seriously, give them a sub up, guys. And watch the new clip. They're interviewing Jamal McGlure on jerseys and talking about how to make a good jersey for a new expansion team. And they've even got one of the players from the new Scepters team, the PWHL team, Spooner. And she comes in and talks about it too, to an extent. So they have some really good guests on the latest WNBA Toronto YouTube channel. It's about a half hour, and it's all about jerseys and logos. And they asked Jamal, is there any particular jersey that you wore that inspired you to play even better because of it? And he's kind of like, no, not really. Not really. Manuel has got that clip that I just told you about, the Jacoby Walter, the thing about why is this happening to me and what is it teaching me. Jamal Shed is showing off his Cougars jersey on his Instagram, and Dylan Disu has got his birthday was celebrated this week. I forgot to say this, guys. Happy birthday to Dylan Disu yesterday. I didn't know it was his birthday because I don't do all the birthdays for the 905 guys, but it was our 905er Dylan Disu's birthday yesterday. So happy birthday to you, man. And yeah, he's seen all the posts he's reposted on his thing. He's turned 24. Yeah, there you go. To the point is got King has got a picture of Garrett Temple, Bruce Brown, and Scotty, and the caption says all three of these men have the same job. And there's a cowboy, a guy in a suit, and Scotty with his leather jacket. It's hilarious. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about our bench, guys. And then Brian's got his brother's art on display, the great watercolor art that he did of Vince Carter and one of his iconic dunks. Very talented stuff there, Brian, by your sibling there. SGA is showing himself getting into a vehicle somewhere on his Instagram, and there's a Siakam sitting on a vehicle on his Instagram and working out. And then Jay Nathan showing Shed coming into the game. And that's about it. There's your Instagram stories for today. The real highlight is the Bruno Fernando dunk on Giannis that everybody is all about on Instagram right now. There you go. Seymour saying Karl Anthony Towns has allowed 35 on 32 shots near the basket, highest ranked rating in the league, worst big man defender in the league. That's a very, very stark difference from last year's team with Hartenstein down there. The Knicks are not having an interior defense like they did last year. Well, that's the player you traded for, Bodega Cat. That's what they call him. Isn't that the guy that Jimmy Butler got all onto for being soft in Minnesota? Yeah, that is who it is. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. New York, you overcorrected. You went too far. You're like Icarus, and you flew too close to the sun, Leon Rose, and your wings have melted off as you went and acquired Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns. Just too much, man. Too much. You had the right recipe last year. And Knicks Nation's going to be kind of second guessing all the moves that they did this offseason because the results aren't going to be as good as they had at the end of the season last year. So, yeah, it is what it is. Some great action in the NBA Cup last night. Great to see the Hawks take down the defending champions in their opening IST game. That's fantastic. And they did it without crazy. Also, a really wild finish in the Detroit game with Miami Heat. Spoelstra messing up as a coach. Not normal. He thought he had a timeout. He didn't have it, and they called the tech, and the Pistons won on a technical free throw because Eric Spoelstra did not keep track of how many timeouts he had. That is such a rookie coach mistake. You'd think this guy had just showed up, but no, this man's been coaching that team for a couple decades now. That's crazy to me. Seriously. That in an in-season tournament game, Miami Heat lost on a technicality mistake to the Detroit Pistons. So, wow, the Pistons are now 1-0 in NBA Cup play. We got to watch out. They may be a lot more of a threat than we think on Friday. This is not the Pistons of the last 2 years. They've actually beat us a lot last year in some ways. So we need to be watching out. You know, it's not Coach Casey anymore. It's not Casey's revenge. But in some ways, the Pistons are one of these teams that kind of like go back and forth with us, whether we beat them or not. So we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens. That's right. All right, let's keep going. In the chat is saying, Jimmy's saying, the way I see it, as long as we have promising stretches during games, is a positive, especially with all the guys we have out. Can't wait for a healthy barbecue. I can't either. And it's looking like it's very realistically going to be mid-December when we will get all of them together. Now, we just don't need anybody else to keep, like, we don't need a revolving door of guys going in and out of the lineup. That could be the problem. In some ways, you know, last year getting to 25 wins, part of it was that we still had Siakam, Anunoby, Schroeder, and those guys on the team at the beginning of the season helping us to collect wins then. And it was the last part of the season where we just went dry. But if we go like we last part of the season for the whole entire season this year, oh my gosh, we may have a really bad win total. And the people that are trying to capture the flag will be smiling about it. But yeah, we're projected right now at this rate. I was figuring it out last night is 12 wins the whole entire season if we keep going at this win rate for our clip. And that's no good. I don't want to do that. We need a good stretch of health to absolutely get some W's collected to add to the total, because I do not want to have the worst season in the Raptors history this year. I'd like to be better than the worst season in Raptors history. And I'd like to be better than last year's team of 25 wins. Somehow, some way, you got to figure it out, Darko, and the Raptors. Seriously, y'all got to figure this out. I really want to see this happening. Seymour saying, I called it from the jump. Grady will win most improved when y'all were saying not going to happen. Build around Grady. Rest of the team looks like they just here to collect a check. Otto Porter syndrome. All right, there's a lot to unpack here by our friend, the sheriff. All right. If you made any prediction about Grady being most improved player and we said no, the only reason why I would say he wouldn't win player is because of our win percentage as a team. That once again, they don't give awards to teams that are bottom dwellers. And if the Raptors are going to be sitting around down the bottom, they won't recognize what Grady's done because in some ways they'll think it's a vacuum of like badness so that he can excel beyond what he would normally do on another team. So they're going to downgrade him for that. And I only say this because of realistically, who are they going to vote for? It's not that I don't think he deserves it. It's not that I don't think that he may actually be the most improved player in the NBA. It's just that he may not get consideration because of the team. We just know this. This is just a fact. The NBA is not going to reward teams that are shitty. And in some ways, giving the most improved player to Grady is not probably going to happen because of that reason, Seymour. It's not that I don't think he deserves it. It's not that I don't think he probably is the most improved player in the league right now. It's just that they don't give this to teams, players on teams like ours right now. It's just not going to happen in some ways. Yeah, that's the only reason why I say it that way. It wasn't that I didn't believe you. It's not that I didn't think he was going to make a jump. It's just that I look at in the realistic lens of, is this a possible outcome with this and this and this? And I say it's probably not. It could be, though. That'd be awesome. I mean, they did talk about it on the broadcast last night for a bit. Vince saying, yeah, this guy's a most improved player candidate. Now, the thing is that the Raptors winning and doing better will help his case for this. Seriously. So we need to get like 30 wins, and then maybe he can be considered for it. But if we don't get a 30 wins, he'll be ignored. Trust me, he will be ignored. Now, you want them to just build around Grady because he's showing durability and not being out. I'm going to knock on wood real quick. In some ways, I get it. I'm worried about Kelly Olynyk, why he's out right now with the Otto Porter thing. It's annoying. In some ways, Kelly, come on, man. Come back. Come back. Did you come to Toronto just to collect the check like Otto Porter? I'm worried about this. Scotty has a legitimate injury. We know he does. We can see it on his face. You know, Emmanuel, you know, him being injury bitten this time so far with the Raptors has been annoying. Whether it's a bereavement last year, whether it's the 3 different injuries he's had so far this year. He's had 3 different injuries. He had a wrist injury, he had a pelvic injury, and now he's got an elbow injury. So it's like Emmanuel can't catch a break for what's going on right now. So it's tough. It's tough. In some ways, Kelly Olynyk, get back out there. We need you, man. Cream Thomas is saying lowered expectations. That's right. That's right. It's a Mad TV sketch from back in the day. Will Sasso and Deborah Wilson. Yeah. Lowered expectations. Hi, I'm Bob, and I live down by the river in a van, and I like to collect stamps. And sometimes I train the beavers out in the yard to do tricks. Yeah. Does that sound like something nice to you? Well, maybe you could call me on lowered expectations. Hi, I'm Bob, and I like to train beavers down by the river in the van that I live in. And this is my beaver pupil, Justin. Hi, Beaver. Would you like to do a trick for them and show them what I do so maybe I can get a date? All right. What are you going to do today, Beaver? Or maybe you can do like a little loop-de-loop. No, you don't do loop-de-loops? Okay, what are you going to do then? Nothing? Okay, then. Get out of here. You're my son. I love you. You did not do well at like throwing a trick. Why are you shy? You're shy. Get out of here, man. Lowered expectations. All right, there you go. Yeah, somebody want to date the beaver trainer? Go somebody want to date the beaver trainer? Seymour saying, man, now that's what I'm talking about. In living color. Now you think that's in living color. You can do what you want to do in living color. In living color. Yeah, no, that was Mad TV. I'm sorry. I got to fact check you here, Seymour. It was Mad TV. Although we can do some in living color, like maybe some men on film or maybe some Homie the Clown. Homie don't play that. Damon Wayans was amazing comic genius. Damon Wayans and Jim Carrey, they had their best work on In Living Color. They are great on big screens and movies. Jim Carrey, especially, because he's got so many huge movies that he made. But man, Jim Carrey, his prime was on In Living Color. I'm just going to stand on this. I just believe this. And Damon Wayans was the 1-2 punch with him on that show. They were so good. They had so many different good characters on that show. That crazy weightlifter that Jim Carrey did, Verna, the female, and Fire Marshal Bill. And then, yeah, Damon Wayans had so many good characters too, like Homie the Clown and stuff like that. Man, what a great show. But yeah, that's a different show. It was Mad TV with Stewart. Stewart, don't do that, Stewart. But I want to. I don't want to. Oh, man, old 90s comedy shows. Good stuff, man. Carlos here. Good morning, Lex and fellow freaks. We see a general weakness against size on this young team. It'll be interesting to see how Darko handles this as the season progresses. You know, a lot of the weakness last night was because of fatigue. I'm going to say it over and over again. If you're tired, you're not going to be as strong. You're not going to be as quick. You're not going to be as following through with your passes, and they're easily picked off. There's a lot of that in what we saw last night. And in some ways, Milwaukee seemed more rested than us, and somewhat wherever they were in their schedule as far as coming and going and traveling, they were in a better place, and they were hungry. Let's just get not twisted. They just lost to the Celtics after having a really good first quarter against them on Sunday. And then it's check connection, check out. Back. They're really hungry. And in some ways, that was a big part of the issue, is that we were completely tired. And that's why I'm blaming the schedule makers. You're going to put our first in-season tournament game as the fifth game on a West Coast road trip. That's fucked up, man. That's not right. That's not fair. There's some thought put into that. Seriously, you can think about that. Think about that. That's right. Kareem's saying the grueling schedule, the injuries, everything is just catching up. Yeah, it's all making it very, very hard. These factors are not making it easy for just us to just slide into wins here and there. In some ways, it's just how it is. And we don't exactly know how to win yet right now. So even the games where we do have opportunities to win, we're flubbing them because we are a young team that doesn't know exactly how to get to the end to get the W. And that's just part of it right there. Seymour saying injury bug. That's right. It's a little inchworm. It's kind of cute. It's kind of cute. Get out of here, injury bug. And Cream's correcting Seymour, saying it's Mad TV. That's right. That's right. It's Mad TV. What was another Mad TV? Oh, Miss Swan. The Miss Swan. Yeah, that was a crazy kind of racist sketch that Alex Borstein used to do, the voice of Meg and Lois. That was a funny character though, Miss Swan. But also kind of border not cool in PC world today. That's for sure. Yeah. Seymour saying my bad. Still classic. And speaking of classic, that's a good cue card for getting on the classic card. Is that all right? Let's see. 931 is where we're on the chat. It's just like a martini, guys. I'm just shaking a martini up. All right, I want to get a classic card. We've had too many current cards lately. Oh, it's not a classic card still. Unfortunately, it's still not a classic card, but let's see if you guys get this one. Now, the trick on this one is the tint of the card makes it really hard to see who it is. So if you guys can see who it is through the tint, first full name answer, getting it will get the Raptor Freak trivia points for today. Let's see how you do. Can you see that from there? Is this too far away? Maybe I'll bring it up this close. Can you tell who that is? I think that may be too easy, honestly. Let's see. See, it's like a weird blue-green tint. It's like really kind of like a filter. There you go. Mike's got it. Yeah, it's Andre Drummond when he played on the Lakers. I thought in some ways it might fool you and make you think it's AD. If I hold it back too far, it kind of looks like it could be AD, but it's actually, it is AD. It's Andre Drummond. Instead of, no, not Markieff Morris. Mike got it. It is Andre Drummond, and it's going to be 100 points to him on the classic card. Is David here? You want to write it in, David? I see you, David. He ran out right when I do it. It's like a little it's like part of the fun of it is like I go to the classic card spreadsheet and David is sitting there and then he runs away as soon as I come in. But we got Logical Raptors fanatic getting the classic card of the day today. Mike, you don't get them very often. In some ways, we want to get you to get more of them. When's the last time you got one, Mike? Man, I'm looking at here and I don't see your name. Oh, there you are. There, you got a Charles Barkley on August the 18th. I'll probably put you in just as logical. That's what he's been putting you in as, logical. All right, there you go. Classic card of the day. Good job, Mike. Getting Andre Drummond on the classic card of the day. The spelling hurts you at times. Yeah, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And well, he was on it on this time. He's like, oh, that's Andre Drummond. Boom. He wrote it in. Boom. He got the classic card. Boom. There you go. There goes the dynamite. There you go. All right, let's see. Where are we in the chat? Let's continue with the chatting of the chat. The chatting. The chatting. Okay, hang on. Let's see. I am right. Why did I hang on? Okay, that's not there. Why I didn't pick the right time. Oh, it's 9:51, not 9:31. Okay, here we go. Kareem's saying RJ. He's said it in 3 different ways. Everyone has a bad game. This is happening because teams got the game plan, run Grady off the 3-point and make RJ dribble laterally and not downhill. Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, they've got some good tape on us as far as where we succeed and what we do, and they want to stop us from doing those things. And it's tough because we don't have the diversification of our normal weapons on display. You know, Scotty's out there. They have the game plan for him for all kinds of different reasons. Then it makes it easier for people like Grady and RJ in the shadow of the game plan for young Barnes. You know, that's a big one right there. Emmanuel's going to cause a whole other headaches too and make things easier for us too. So those 2 guys, the barbecue being fully barbecued, could help a lot in this. And I think you're exactly right. We saw them really stymie RJ last night with a very good game plan. Kareem saying, I see Grady easily surpassing Lowry as a fan favorite when we win the basketball Super Bowl in 2026. You know, I mean, I don't know about that. You know, it's going to be really tough to beat Lowry and the greatest Raptor of all time. We got to get another championship at least for that to happen, as you said there. And it has to be somebody who's a very paramount. The other thing you got to do is have longevity on our team. Kyle Lowry was a Raptor for 9 years, and he was through that whole buildup to get the championship, and he saw it to fruition, unlike his good friend DeMar. But, you know, both of them are the 2 GOATs. And in some ways, you got to have longevity. I just hope that, you know, Grady doesn't hear the noise from other places and say, yeah, you should be leaving the Raptors. He's one of the ones I worry about the most because he's very useful and valuable in this league. And we need to see how he makes decisions from free agency. And we need to see like those kind of things. In some ways, he could sell us out just like Chris Bosh. And I don't want that to happen. I'm not trying to speak it into existence, but there's a certain level of trust that you guard because he continued to want to be in Toronto. And I don't know. We'll have to see what's going to happen with Grady in his future. If he's a long-standing Raptor like Kyle Lowry, this could be possible, but otherwise, I don't see it. He's got to win a championship and be on this team for almost 10 years if he wants to supplant the GOAT, is what I'm saying. Nako saying, it stings knowing Doc Rivers had the best game plan for us so far. You know what? I don't even know if you should be giving credit to Doc Rivers. I mean, he utilized what made sense and did that. And don't give him this kind of credit. It's more a credit to the ability of Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's more a credit to them. In some ways, it's just Doc saying, yeah, shut it down around the basket, guys. Well, if these guys aren't effective defenders like they are, they don't do it. So let's not give credit where credit's due. I mean, yeah, he told them to do this, but they did it. And let's not act like Doc Rivers is some sort of coaching genius for that. No, he's not. That's the smart thing to do. I mean, if I was coaching that team, I would have said the same damn thing. Brooke, shut them down around the basket. They'll have trouble. They won't be able to do much outside because they're not a very good 3-point shooting team overall. Yeah, that's not rocket science. And the work was put in by Lopez and Antetokounmpo and Portis to a degree also. So let's see. Carlos saying, I still don't enjoy listening to Vince. Something with the way he speaks. You know, it's weird because I have not enjoyed listening to him call games when he's stateside, but I'm really enjoying it while he's calling our games. And in some ways, like I said, he's very, very much he knows his stuff. He really does know his X's and O's. In some ways, I have to separate all the animosity towards Vince for how he left at this point, because in some ways we have healed things. We really have. And in some ways, the signs of him being so emotional about the events that we've done with him recently has really made me realize it is very important to him, his Raptors legacy. And in some ways, as an old Raptors freak for like 30 years now, seeing this is healing for me also, because in some ways, it is true. It's weird and corny that holding the grudge against Vince Carter for so long is heavy and burdensome. And in some ways, I don't want to hold it anymore. And this is really the best way to continue to heal, is to see him involved with our nation and being more like ownership in it. I'd like to think that maybe because Vince has now been honored by us and he's been on our broadcast a couple times now, that maybe he is rooting for the Raptors more in his heart once again, like he did when he played for us. Because he didn't after he left. No, he didn't. He became an op. He became a villain, and he became like somebody who was gleeful about the failings of the Toronto Raptors as a franchise. And that's the thing that was pissing me off the most. It's like, it's one thing to shit on us, quit on us, take off, and have us get a bad trade and bury us in the ground as a franchise in 2004. But it's another thing to continue after that to like gleefully be happy that the Raptors aren't doing well. And that's why this is kind of healing for me, is because I'm actually hearing him call the games from our side and our point of view, instead of being on US TV and calling it against us. Because he did that for a couple years when he would show up on ESPN. And if the Raptors were involved, he was definitely denigrating us. So there's some healing in this. And I get it. Yeah, you know what? In some ways, he annoys me still. But for the most part, he's been awesome. I think he's done an exceptional job fitting in with Alvin and Matt. So in some ways, it's going a long way with an old head like me. That's for sure. Yeah. Fiercely saying at Kareem, teams clearly scouting us, but are we doing the same? I remember OG was always looking up his opponents prior to the games, hence why he figured out how to guard certain players. Well, this is a fair question, MJ. And I don't think we are. Not on the level that the other teams are doing it, because once again, we're in elementary school, we're in kindergarten, and these teams are, some of them are in graduate level college, and we are very much in grade school, very young. And we are in some ways just learning being NBA players for a majority of some of our players. Some of us are learning on different levels in different places. Scotty's going to be at a certain place in his fourth year. Grady in his second year, O'Shea in his third. And then you got all these young guys. And that's the thing. The Bucks, think about all that Giannis has learned in his NBA career and what level he's learning at. Think about where Brook Lopez is at almost 20 years in this league. That matters. Experience matters in this league. And that's why cutting everybody out like Anunoby and Pascal and to go rebuilding with the young team, well, this is going to be part of the difference. You don't get that specialized OG Anunoby. I'm going to clamp down the best player on the other team because I have the time to figure it all out and the knowledge of that. We just have to learn how to play in the first place and be NBA players right now. There's no graduate level studies in NBA stuff right now for our team. And that's just how it is. That's just how it is. That's part of a rebuild. And that's what y'all call for, fans. Well, that's what it is. That's part of what you got to do at this point. Kareem saying at Fiercey is a different beast. Having a player to cross out other team's best player is something that's undervalued. Yeah. And that's why if they do this crazy trade with Milwaukee that I've heard bandied around recently, Mitchell Robinson and OG Anunoby for Giannis Antetokounmpo, that may be, I mean, Giannis is a pretty good defender too, like I've been saying, and it maybe actually works really well. But yeah, and Anunoby is somebody we've definitely missed on the Raptors since we traded him. Definitely missed him. Yeah, Kareem saying RJ needs a pull-up, simply said. Yeah, he either needs a pull-up or we need to do better to find the middle shot. Seriously. There was one shot where Chris took it by accident and he made it. That wasn't a normal play. It was a broken play. And all of a sudden, Chris had to take a shot because of the shot clock. And he's like on the elbow of the free throw line, just inside the middle range, and he made it. He just had to do that. That was the area where we needed to try and look for more shots, Coach Rajakovic. That's what I think, at least myself. And I'm not as qualified as you, but I'm just saying, why do we have to be like the rest of the league and feel like the mid range is the disowned child of the family? Why do we have to do that? Why do we have to be like Nick and Nate Bjorngren and say, no, you shoot any mid ranges, you're getting fined on this team? No, don't do that. Let's continue to use the mid range, even if the stat geeks and the analytic guys say, oh, that's not worth it. You might as well just go all the way out to the 3-point shot and shoot it out there. Well, if your team's not a very good 3-point shooting team overall, maybe you should be just inside the 3-point line or maybe within 4 or 5 feet of it inside. That's what I'm saying right there. That's what I'm saying right there. Analytics to be whatever, throw them out the window. Eric Curry, stop telling him to do that. This is Smooth saying, I'm sure Darko is counseling the team after every loss, reinforcing the need to take learning lessons. Embracing a rebuild is not easy, man. Yeah, and you can tell it's starting to wear down on them because honestly, the fatigue of the trip, the fact that they've had some games where they were very close and they felt pretty good, even though they didn't win, but they're seeing the record. They're seeing the standings where they are in it, and they see that they are the worst team in the league right now. That's got to be a little bit deflating. That's got to be a little bit deflating because we're statistically the worst team in the league. And I don't remember the last time the Raptors were the absolute worst team in the league record wise. It was probably sometime in the 90s or maybe around Chris Bosh era. That may have happened a couple times then. But yeah, this is new for us. There's always going to be like usually a Wizards below us or something like that. But that's not happening right now, which is kind of scary and a little bit disheartening is what I'm saying. Let's see. Jimmy's saying the defense is completely locked in and on RJ. He's definitely number one on the scouting report at this point. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big part of it. I mean, if Emmanuel had been able to play again, we got to understand Emmanuel's played in 3 games this season. And he got hurt in the first one and got taken out before the end of it. So he didn't even get a full game. It's like 2.5 games Emmanuel's played, something like that right now. And yeah, it's really unfortunate that he got a new injury against the Lakers on Sunday. He showing up last night could have helped a lot. Any of these guys who were hurt last night coming in could have helped any of them. Whether it's Kelly, whether it's Scotty, even Bruce Brown could have helped us out last night in certain ways. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Seymour saying, don't let them take our hearts. We the North. There you go. I love that. I'm going to give you a dunk for that, Seymour. Seriously. I'm going to give you a big-time dunk because that's positivity in what's going on right now. 190 for Seymour Pape on the dunk charts right now. I like that. Kareem saying Cooper Flag shit the bed last night, turning 2 late game turnovers and failing to block out at the end of the game versus Kentucky. Cheers to Bryce Lawson. We Wildcats, baby. So, yeah, and Lloyd's celebrating that too with you guys. Yeah, that's interesting. Everybody puts so much hype on people as young players coming in. It's like, I guess this is what you do when your team that isn't having an ability to win a championship, that you got to look to your sweepstakes is the number 1 pick or the capture the flag sweepstakes. In the years past, it was Wembanyama. So hyped up and so many things said about him, but in some ways hasn't panned out in the 2 years so far of him being around to success. And that's why I'm saying we got to get away from these hype trains. And this year's hype train is definitely around Cooper Flag. And it's annoying because in some ways they up the everything about them, and they may not be legitimately as great as everybody thinks they are. And something like what I hear right here, Kareem saying his performance at the end of this Duke game last night, well, that's kind of telling me something. Is like he's still a young kid, and he's not like the savior end all be all that's going to come and save a franchise next year, as much as tank artists think that he is. There's no guarantees of that. And Victor Wembanyama is a very good example because honestly, Victor's going to be great. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going to continue to get better and better, but he has not been a slam dunk out of the park kind of person coming in and making a huge difference right away. In some ways he is, but he's not translating to winning. That's what it is right there. Stargate saying, good morning, Raptor Freak family. They looked tired last night, both physically and mentally. Thus, the simple turnovers and lack of offensive execution. They usually put up a bit of a fight at the end, but not the last few games. Yeah, they really hit the wall, I guess, in L.A. And I hate to think that they were doing any fun stuff in L.A. that caused that. I would think that it's probably just the travel. Once again, they left on this road trip right after a time change, and it's a fallback time change. And that's why I feel like this is so manipulated by the schedule makers, that they even understand all this. Like they're really into everything and nitpicking and looking through it all and kind of thinking about it. When they look at the Raptors schedule and they think about what they're going to have to do travel wise, they're like, ooh, the time changes, and they're immediately going to go to Denver and play there, the mile high city, the high altitude, and the fallback. They'll go from playing at 7 p.m. Eastern time to like 11 p.m. Eastern time because the time changed back, and it's a 10 p.m. start there. Yeah, it's crazy. In some ways, it's manipulative on the down low, and it's just setting the contents of the environment for them to have a harder time to succeed. And having like I said a couple times already, having the Milwaukee game in this situation like this on the end of the road trip, absolutely diabolical. Absolutely diabolical right there. Diabolical. That's right. Trevor's saying the Knicks beat the Sixers. OG's top scorer. Joel was falling down all over the place with 13 points. Yeah, the return of Big Dummy Embiid to the lineup after a suspension for shoving a journalist and also his injuries. Yeah, he finally showed up, but it didn't add up to winning for the Sixers, did it? No, it didn't. And yeah, it's in-season tournament, and butthole face is frowning. That's right. Carlos saying half-ass passes, missing loose balls, leading to threes. Fatigue, fatigue, fatigue. You don't throw that ball with enough zip. That's usually because you're tired. You don't finish strong on a layup or on a jump shot. It's because you're tired. You're not getting to loose balls before the other team or rebounds. It's because you're tired. And there was a lot of that last night. A lot of it was fatigue, and we couldn't keep up with scoring either. And their good defense cut our offensive output that we've been doing so well this year so far. Mike's saying the injuries are weighing on us a little. It's been a rough road trip. The players want to get home. Yeah, I feel like that's true. I think at this point they're very happy to be back in Toronto, and hopefully they can. This is the other thing that's diabolical about this. We just went on a 5-game road trip. We're going to get 1 day, well, actually 2 days off. We got today and tomorrow off, so they do get an extra day between the two in-season tournament games. Then we're going to play Detroit. But you can ask superfan Monique Lawrence. She knows after a long road trip, the first home game back is sometimes dysfunctional for that team because they're just getting back for the first time. So, okay, go ahead and put our NBA Cup in another disadvantage with that. And also the fact we're playing the champions the next night on a second night of a back-to-back. Yeah, the schedule makers were really mean to us in the stretch of the season. The whole start of the season till December is all just fucked up for the Raptors, honestly. G saying injuries are up 35% in the NBA this year. That's interesting. Now that some of the things they try to do to get injuries down, as far as like incentives to play more games, as far as postseason awards and stuff like that, is this being ignored? Did the players don't care? I mean, in some ways, that may be even doubly frustrating about getting injuries. Is, you know what? I want to kick in something for my contract to get the max, and I can't even do it because I'm gonna miss this many amount of games, and I'm not gonna get my 65 games for the season. Yeah, that's going to be really frustrating. That adds insult to the injury. Is you got the injury, and now, oh crap, I may miss out on money because of the injury. In some ways, that's a good way to put the carrot in front of them to stay healthy and be out there, and maybe not half-ass and make excuses for why they're not playing. You know, but a player like Kelly Olynyk is not really going to be in the running for any postseason awards. Well, he'll go ahead and sit half the season for a mystery back ailment. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. Stargate saying, okay, so we have identified at least one issue the Raptors have a problem with. Big front lines. Teams like Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Utah will be an issue. Yes. Yes. The two worst games. This is exactly right what Stargate's saying. The two worst games this season were Cleveland, the first game, and this game last night. And what was the common denominator? The big front line. And even with the Clippers on Saturday with Zubac, that was an issue for a bit. And AD on Sunday night with the Lakers. So, yeah, big lineups are a problem, and Jakob is absolutely essential as far as trying to help us in this fight. And, man, oh, my gosh, this is exactly right. And in some ways, this is telling Masai and Bobby where they're going to need to find more players is on our front line to help us with the rebounding and the defense and just to have more depth up there. Bruno Fernando, you're doing yeoman's work, but I think we could upgrade the talent in that spot that you're holding right now. I think we could. Fiercely saying at least our former Raptor, Trent Jr., didn't go off on us. I'm really sad for Gary. I'm not mad at him. I don't hate him. I just have passion of like wanting things for him to be good. And man, I don't think he's right. In some ways, this is scary that he's kind of not been fully healthy for over a year now. And I don't know exactly what the issue is with his plantar fasciitis, but he is a shell of himself from when he was doing all those 30-point games in January for the Raptors a couple years ago. This is crazy, and I feel sad for him. I'm a little scared for Gary right now because, and he didn't get a revenge game against us. I don't think he has it in his heart for that. They were talking to him before the game, and then he has only good things to say. He loves a lot of the guys on the team still, and he does love our franchise and our city. So, man, it's a tough thing. He's not an op. He's not an op. That's the thing. You got to understand. He's not an op, even though he switched jerseys. He's not an op. Smooth saying Toronto is ravaged with injuries, man. The Bucks played a bad game and still won by 14. Detroit might beat the Bucks tonight. They look disjointed. Yeah, I could see the Pistons winning this game tonight because in some ways the Pistons are doing better playing as a team than the Bucks. The Bucks are messed up. Let's not get it twisted. They missed a lot of shots. Their mojo is kind of not working together with each other. There's something wrong with them, and I blame Doc Rivers is partly. I blame Giannis. There's just not they're not connected as a team and in a weird way. And I was saying during the game on the Facebook chat, if the Raptors could really capitalize on being connected as a team, we could beat this team because they're not a team like we are. But they stifled us making the bonds as a team on passing and in different places, and it wasn't able to happen. Whereas that's in basketball theory, a team that's not playing as a team or not connecting or not doing well as a group will lose to a less talented team that is connected as a group and playing at a very high level with connection. And I was hoping that was the key to victory for us last night, but the connection between our team did not come through. And that would have been how we would have beat the Bucks last night. And it's too bad. It's too bad. They did a good job with RJ in particular, because and Jakob, as far as him being a hub and also him going out of the game with 2 fouls early. That's part of it right there. Yeah. Mike's saying Stargate, I think a lineup of Pirtle, Kelly, Scotty, Grady, and another guy could be effective against the big front lines. Yes. Yes. I mean, we have some of this size. It's just that we need to get it healthy. We need to get it healthy. We need to get Mobo more seasoned and more knowledgeable and savvy in NBA ways. And he'll get that. He's getting it very quickly already. But we got to understand also, he just had his 12th game ever in the NBA. And we can't just expect Mobo to be a high level veteran big for us in certain ways in his rookie year. It's just not going to happen. Nako's saying injuries cannot be good for the product. Yeah, they can't be good for the NBA in general. In some ways, they got to really figure this out if they can. In some ways, once again, I don't always trust injuries and why guys sit out, because in some ways we could look at Garrett Temple as like a break-in case emergency. Sure, he's listed on the injury report sometimes, but that may be because we have enough bodies that we can't dress him because we got all these other guys dressed, like the two ways and different people. But when we do have an injury, like quickly, all of a sudden Garrett comes off the injury list real quick and he's available. What is it going to take to get Kelly Olynyk off the injury list and available all of a sudden? That's what I'm wondering right now. That's right. Seymour saying Grady is the future. Yeah, him and Scotty are the future for sure. And it is bright. It's bright outside. It's nice and bright outside. We may only get daylight for like 8 hours a day right now because that sun comes down crashing at 5 p.m. It's so crazy how the sun goes down right at 5 every single day right now. It's so crazy. Let's see. Fiercely saying, speaking of Pistons, Tim Hardaway Jr. wheeled off the court yesterday. Dad was in attendance, wishing him well. We'll need to be efficient. Pistons on the low have become better under Bickerstaff. Yeah, I'll do the scout on them in the next couple days, and we'll do the preview on Friday, and I'll kind of get my read on them. Tomorrow, we're going to have a Thursday think tank on the channel, so the phone lines will be open. If you want to call me on the channel tomorrow, we'll talk about we're going to talk about being the worst team in the league right now, guys. That's going to be what the Thursday think tank is going to be all about tomorrow. Having the worst record and being the 30th team out of 30 in the league right now on the Thursday think tank, a place we're not normally around. And I'll take your calls on your opinions about that and how you look at it on the Thursday think tank tomorrow. So tune in. It'll be a call-in show. And if you are a member of this channel, you'll have opportunity to call through the phone lines. That's right. The Stargate saying Grady was not happy at all after the game. First time I really seen him like that. He wants to win, and I like that. Yeah, he was pissed. He was exhausted, and there wasn't very much positive vibes coming off of Grady in the post game interview. Yeah, he was pissed. You could tell he was pissed, and just kind of like it's not that he's defeated. It's just that he's just not happy. He's not happy with us not winning enough. That's right. Smooth saying it fiercely. They've got a good team. Could be in the play-in. The Detroit Pistons. Yeah, they've upgraded. They've gone through their stall outs. They've had some misfortune. Maybe they're turning things around a little bit and getting going. Now they have the Cleveland coach now, right? They have Bickerstaff coaching them, right? Isn't that their new coach? I think that's right. I think that's who they switched in there. I'll have to go. Like I said, I'll do the scout on Detroit and we'll figure it out. Mike's saying, if healthy, we have a lot of options now. I think we will have the starters and bench running well in the second quarter of the season. I hope so. I really do, because in some ways I don't want to keep going like this all year long, where it's just a revolving door of different guys being on the injury list, and we never have our full complement of our team, because that will mean we have a really hard time scoring, a really hard time getting wins, and this will be very similar to the second half of the season after Jakob and Scotty went out. And I don't want to keep doing this. I don't want to be in this kind of mode where half our team is injured and we just don't have a real chance to compete and win. It's no fun. Smooth saying the Bucks were handing the Raptors a win last night. It was alarming how bad the Bucks were, man. They're in real trouble. Yeah, we had our opportunities in the first half. I felt like we outplayed them, and they were missing a lot of shots. And they, like I said, they're just not connected. But we aren't capable enough to take opportunity and use it to our advantage. In some ways, we were making too many turnovers while they were missing shots also. But if we were tightened up and playing better, had better energy, and not so fatigued, I think we could have capitalized on their issues and done way, way better. But we had our own issues, and a lot of it has to do with fatigue. A lot of it has to do with fatigue. Stargate saying, I love players like SGA, DeMar, and Grady. They don't shy away from mid-range shots. That's what I'm saying. I want people to stop listening to people that are saying stop shooting mid-range. Fuck those people. They're idiots. Like it's not smart for this league. And in some ways, to be a successful basketball team, you need to have some sort of mid-range skills still. Everybody tried to say a few years ago that the regular NBA centers were going to go the way of the dinosaur. People like Jonas and Jakob and Joel and Joker. But no, have they? No, they're not. They're still as important and essential in a lot of ways as they always have been, whether it was Bill Russell and Kareem, Shaq and Hakeem, and now being Joker and Joel. It's the same thing. You can say, oh, we don't need big centers like this. They're going the way of the dinosaur. Bullshit. Well, the mid-range is the same thing. People are going to say the mid-range is going the way the dinosaur is going extinct. That's bullshit. It's an essential part of a viable basketball ecosystem. You're going to cut out that species. Well, something's wrong with your environment is what I'm going to say right there. That's right. That's right. That's right. All right, let's see. Fiercey's saying, yes, Smooth. And so will we. Once the schedule favors us and we capitalize on it, we can also be a play-in team. I mean, I don't want to do this like over the season like we do in games where we get down by double digits in the first 10 minutes of the game. We got to come back the whole entire game. Because if we do this with a season where we're like behind and down in our win total, and then we're going to try and catch up on our win total over the later in the season, well, it's kind of the same thing. All I want is 26 wins, Raptors. Can you get me 24 wins by the end of this season somehow, some way? Please, just get 24 more wins from me by the end of this season. And they don't have to all come soon, but most of them come later on. Just get them at some point. That's all I want. That's all I want. 24 more wins at least, if not more. If you can get 25, that's even better, of course. Mike's saying you got to have a high release point or a move to make space to spot. Everyone in the mid-range are tall, and it's tougher for shorter players to use the midi jumper. Well, this is the thing that I don't understand with young NBA players at this point is they don't understand fundamentals. In the old NBA, guys understood go to the space where the floor is open and stop, trying to shoot in traffic or near defenders. There was too much of that last night where we're trying to pass through defenders. They're stealing the ball, whether we're trying to shoot, and it's an ill-advised, poor shot selection because of the proximity of a Milwaukee defender. Why can't we read the floor, look at where people are, and dissect it? Just like if you're Scotty and you see you got a smaller defender on, you post him up. If you see you got a bigger defender, go around him and beat him with speed. We need to be cerebral and look at what's going on the court. And when you see there's one side of the court on strong side or weak side that's more overloaded with defenders, you go to the other side. Like, you don't go towards where Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo are standing. You go to the part of the court where they're not inhabiting, and you try and cultivate some shots there. Too often, the Raptors are trying to force the ball directly at where the best defenders on the other side are. And that's a problem right there. Look for where the holes in the court are and go to those spots, and then you'll get open mid-range shots. That's the thing that's frustrating to me. Why do NBA players now want to make it so hard on themselves? They're going to take it straight to the guy. And why don't you go and find the open space, motherfuckers? I mean, it used to be do a little dribble, step back, and you got some room. Or, that guy's wide open. Nobody's near him. Or, there's all kinds of ways to get open in the NBA. And in some ways, I hate team players or players that just try and go at the defense, like DeMar DeRozan 2015, and try and beat 3 guys by himself. Stop doing shit like that. Why you make your life so hard on yourself? Make it easier. Make it easier. That's what I'm saying. Smooth saying, playing team and a lottery pick. I'll take it. Maybe. We'll have to see. We could be a playing team. Trevor saying, Doc's post-game interview, that Raptors team is very fast. That's what he was saying? Well, you should see us when we're not so tired, Doc. You may be even more impressed. Carlos saying, I value Battle more. The guy can hit shots as a minimum. You can work with that. He's also showed some real energy with getting to rebounds and defensive stuff too. He's a real go-getter out there. And there's a certain level of aptitude and smarts too that he's doing things other than trying to dunk like he did last night. No, I have way more confidence in the three-point shot of Jamison Battle overall than most of the guys in the Raptors organization right now. And that's what I say right there. Smith saying Bronny James will only play in home games for the South Bay Lakers. He will not accompany the team on the road trips per the Lakers. Okay. All right. That's fine. I mean, he's the boss's son, so he should get whatever he wants, right? Nako saying Carlson and Bruno are both Band-Aids when we need a cast. Battle I want to keep because he has the most upside. Yeah, I'd be more worried about taking the two-way off Battle and somebody else in the league signing and snatching him up and getting in another organization than Carlson. You're losing way more with Battle, seriously, because he's a sure shot. Once again, he's a sure shot. And the Battle Dick formation, when it's out there, really spaces the floor and is so dangerous to get a lot of three-pointers in all of a sudden. And that's why, we want more players like Grady on our team. Jamison Battle's the most like Grady on our team. And in some ways, we need to covet that. Is why I say that the Battle choice in the training camp was the smart one. Smooth saying, Bronny, okay, I already read that. G saying, talk about being spoiled. How does that help the team and their chemistry? Talking about Bronny. Yeah, interesting. It's more LeBron nonsense. That's right. Brian's here. Good to see King from To The Point. What's up, Freak Nation? Dap, like I said the other day, turnovers. At least they're getting it out of the way now. Turnovers are a symptom of fatigue and not being very with it and being very tired. That's a part of it. Monique's got my cutoff. Thank you, Mo. I am right at 2 hours. We'll go a little bit over. 1 hour into the show. Limit comments for Lex. Early cutoff. Thank you, Mo. I really appreciate that. Smooth saying maybe with the mental health stuff, it's too much, too soon. The money, the sex, the drugs. I don't know. NBA life is a whole different world, man. Well, this guy, Kyle, who's having the issues right now, is way past his NBA career. He got drafted around 2010, and he played in the league like from 2010 to like 2013 or something like that. He didn't have a very long career. Now, I mean, the mental health battles could be post-career and wondering what if and what could have been. And, I screwed up and I shouldn't have done this. And, man, I wish my career had been better than it was. That's the issue right there. We know in wrestling, a lot of wrestlers die because of suicide or drug overdose or stuff like that because they're miserable or unhappy. Well, in some ways, you get concussions, you get different things. Your mental health can be affected by that also. So I think that Kyle Sigler, in some ways, is just reflecting on his life, and he's in a bad place. And he's so far removed from his NBA career. This is not what it is. This is not what it is. It's kind of like you're an older person past your career, and you're sitting at home, and you're wondering what to do with the rest of your life, kind of thing is what that is. Mike saying fake friends only wanting clout and money is a tough life. You have to second guess everyone. Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's exactly right. Brian saying, by the way, Lex, did you get that video I sent you? I'm trying to think of what video you sent me. Is it on Facebook? Because I wasn't really on Facebook yesterday very much. Okay, this is what it is. Yeah, let me go look at it. Okay, yeah. All right, let's talk about this. And that's right. Okay, this is at the end of the game last night, and it's Giannis hugging James Williams after the game, and James Williams is jubilant and is smiling and making a little symbol with this. Yeah, it's bullshit. I mean, all right, let's not get it twisted. NBA refs are friends with a lot of the players around the league. We see them palling around. This is why Garrett Temple's good to have on our team. And they talk a lot. And before the game, I saw the ref crew talking to the Bucks a lot before the game. And then immediately over, Giannis goes and puts his arm around James Williams like they're chummy or something. Yeah, that's fishy as fuck. In some ways, the NBA should be telling their refs not to fraternize with the players after a victory and celebrate like they won or something with them. Because that's what it looked like to me too, Brian. And thank you for sending me that video and making me remind me to talk about James Williams having a little celebratory hug with Giannis Antetokounmpo after the game ended the way it did. Man, we know there's a script. We know that y'all didn't want Toronto to beat Milwaukee last night. And if they were, they're going to have to go against the odds and run through a brick wall of Brooke Lopez to make it done. Well, y'all ain't going to make it easy. Schedule makers did their part. And obviously, the referees had a part in it also. How chummy they are with the Greek freak after the game. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, Brian. I appreciate that. Mike's saying Bodega Kitten. That's right, Bodega Kitten. Let's see. Carlos saying, how is Cooper Flagg's defense, by the way? I don't know. I've never watched him. I blind scout him. I'll do it in January. You guys can put him first and say he's Lex's scout of the day, Cooper Flagg, and I'll go watch him for the very first time ever. I don't watch college at all. I'm not going to go look at him, and I'll give you a very stark reaction to him the first time I ever see him. And that will be a segment that we do in 2025 because I don't do any draft scouts until then. It's way too soon. But I'll give you my assessment of his defense from what I can see, at least from the highlight clips. We'll have to see. Mike's saying, I don't know. The early narrative of being a bust into now a legit potential all-star guy is a big jump in people's minds. Who are you talking about exactly? Grady could get a most improved player based on the narrative strong enough to break the trend. Once again, they're ignoring us. They only talk about Raptors when we do something good enough that they can't ignore us. A lot of the times they're not going to do stuff like for us in any kind of way, and especially if we're the worst team in the league. There's no way if we're one of the bottom 5 teams in the league this year that we're going to win any postseason awards, guys. Because their argument is this, Mike. This team is so bad. Obviously, Grady could do so well and have his stats inflated because that's what they say. A bad team will have a player will come out and it can just be amazing and get a lot of points. So they don't really respect some of what Grady's doing right now because of our team and how bad it is right now. Do you understand what I'm saying here? They're going to say, well, somebody's got to do it there. Grady's the only guy who's not hurt. So that's why he's stepping up and doing it. Like, that's what they'll say. And that's will be their logic for saying he shouldn't be the most improved player is what I'm going to say right now. It's not that I agree with anything that I'm saying right now. It's just I'm telling you what the argument is from NBA general person that they see this. It could be a fan of any other team and say, yeah, Grady Dick, most improved player. Bro, your team sucks. Of course he's getting 30 a game. That's what they'll say, Mike. That's what they'll say. Let's see. All right, there's the classic card stuff. All right, I see where we are. Spelling hurts him. That's right. Randolph's here. Blessings, beloved Raptor Freaks, most informative gang. Swimming upstream in a river will not get you far. It's the same way you do not fight against life's inevitables. Use what help you can to advance. There you go. I like that, Randolph. That's positive. In some ways, don't go against the flow of life. If something is very much telling you the message that, what, you're not going the right direction, don't fight against it. Some people will, and they'll get things achieved that way. And that's really admirable, but they go the hard way. In some ways, if life is presenting you with circumstances that continue to happen over and over again, you may need to just kind of pay attention to them and try and figure out how to utilize them in the right way to make it best for yourself. Yeah, it's tough, man. Randolph, thank you for your words of wisdom. Let's go see what Leo's saying. He has a very simple statement, and he's saying, keep going. And I'm sure that's directed directly at the Raptors team as far as keep going and don't get your head down. And you know what? CJ Miles, former Raptor, is saying the same damn thing on his Twitter right now. Keep going, please. Keep going. And I don't know if he's talking about something political. I don't know if he's talking about a team like the Raptors. Keep going, guys, and get somewhere. That's right. Nako's saying Flagg is good at defense. Okay, his assessment is he's good. We'll have to see down the road. Daniel's here. Good to see Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you, Daniel. Thank you for frequenting our channel and being here this morning. Randolph saying, Lex, if our main guys were playing and the number of wins were the same, we will not hear the end of it. This is a rebuild and development year. The way things are is a blessing in disguise. And I know you're tying this in with your words of wisdom. And I agree with you. I mean, in some ways, that was the distinction that was made last night. We may be 2 something, and they're 2 something, but they have their guys, and they're healthy, and they're supposed to be a playoff team. We're supposed to be exactly like this in a rebuild, and especially with key players out. So, yeah, there's a really kind of scarier issues for the Bucks than us right now because we are what we're supposed to be, and they are not what they're supposed to be right now. And that's an interesting thing right there. Mike's saying some of the defensive focused guys are studying tape, but Darko doesn't want to push everything at once and wants to focus on other areas with the offensive focused guys. I think Shed is on tape duty. Yeah, That's the thing. Darko part of being a coach is trying to mediate what exactly they're throwing at the team as they can handle. And in some ways, sure, Doc Rivers can come in and throw certain things at Brook Lopez and Giannis, and it's very high level and experience that so much experience behind that they know what they're talking about. In some ways, that's what we mean when we say build, rebuild. You're building the player and their RAM and their memory and their files in their computer head as far as like no knowledge of the NBA and its ins and outs. Scotty is on his journey in his 4th year as an NBA player to get smarter and smarter in his computer brain about how to read the NBA. But experience, time on the court, and learning from being and doing it is the best way to do it. So in some ways, we can't throw everything like the kitchen sink at Jamal Shed, Jonathan Mobo, even if they're advanced for rookies. We've got to temper what they're given to them. And Darko has to really kind of be smart about what he puts on their plate from time to time. And it can't all just be all at once. This is definitely true. This is definitely true. Randolph's saying, Lex, you raised the level of respect and admiration I have for you, bro. As one who believes in forgiveness and second chances, you coming around and forgiving Vince is admirable. Listen, I don't like having negative feelings towards people. Even people that have been on this channel that have left recently, I still have a lot of love for them. And I'm not hater on them. I want them to have the best things. Now, we may not be allowed to be together or hang out with each other in certain ways at this point. But yeah, I don't like having those kind of things in my life. In some ways, having hate and anger towards people is not good. It'll kill you inside a little bit by a little bit. And in some ways, I do really feel the healing of getting right with Vince in a very true and honest way right now. And, it was shaky at first. In some ways, I rejected it a lot this summer. In some ways, I did get very upset. But you know what? I appreciate that, Randolph. That's a high compliment. And if anything I try to do on this channel, other than give basketball knowledge and insight or do silly impressions or puppetry, I do try and give good examples of life lessons on how to live your life better and maybe to become a better person. And I'm such an open piece of work as far as you guys see me change over time that I guess you're right. You just gave me the vision that, wow, you guys are seeing me evolve as a person in real time, day to day on this channel. And I appreciate that, Randolph. I really do. I'm gonna give you a dunk for pointing that out. It's admirable that I really appreciate you being a guiding force in my life too. You guys really do help me out with your words of wisdom and what you guys say. There's often things that I glean from what y'all are saying, Trevor and Randolph and Leo and other people that like to do it sometimes. And I'm going to give you a 5-pointer, 72 for Randolph right now. You guys really do help guide me too. And the other thing that's interesting is I'm not historically a faith-based person that has organized religion in my life. But I feel like because of you guys' strong ties with Christ and Christianity and Jesus and stuff, it really, in some ways, you guys are like Sunday school teachers for me. And in some ways, my devotion and belief in a higher power is strengthened because of y'all's influence. It is a really big deal in some ways. Stargate saying every single injured player right now is a significant rotation player. IQ, Scotty, Kelly, Bruce, and even Jacoby. Yeah, all very helpful in very important ways, different ones. Scotty, obviously. Emmanuel, obviously. Kelly, a lot more important than we think. Seriously. Smooth saying this is a 1-year rebuild. Next year, 50+ wins. Book it. I love that attitude. I love that attitude. I hope you're exactly right. In some ways, we got to get healthier on longer stretches. I don't like how often the Raptors have been hurt in the last few years. There's been way too many people on the injury list over the really since like the year after the championship, the bubble year. Like since then, Tampa injury ravaged and COVID outbreaks. And the season since, we've never really got like really good health overall the whole course of the year. We've had a lot of people sitting a lot, and I don't like that. It was happening before with people like Anunoby and the cast from before too. So Precious would be out like he is right now, stuff like that. Let's see, 100%. Seymour agrees with Smooth. I like to see that. Trevor's saying Raptors team learning the tough lessons, what it takes to win. They're learning all of this in the first month of a schedule. We're going to see a big change in these guys. That's right. Go through the fire to get to the goods. And you guys are going through the fire and it's burning you right now, but you will get through there and you'll see your hard work pay off in the end. Trust me. Don't get down now. Keep going. Like Leo and CJ are saying, and we are saying to you guys too, we believe in you, Raptors. And we know that right now it's tough. with collecting L's left and right. But we know you're going to turn this around and you're going to get more W's in the future. I know it will happen. I know it will. Mike's saying the start of the season was going to be tough. We knew this once the schedule came out. The injuries are making it harder at the moment, but this won't indicate the rest of the season. I hope you're exactly right. There's no guarantees with injuries, and I hope that we do get a lot more healthier season down the road. I really, really do, because that'll be a better gauge for who we are exactly than what we've seen recently. Trevor's saying it's still a lot of games to play. Raptors can still make a big jump once everyone is back and healthy. Yeah, this is something Vince was saying about the Bucks. When he's talking about, do you think the Bucks still have time to get it right and by the end of the season? And Vince is saying, yeah. I mean, there's like 70 games left in the season or something like that. Of course, they still have a chance to come back and right the ship by the end of the season and do something and be the playoff team that they're supposed to be this year. Well, turn that around, Vince, and say that about our Raptors instead. That not necessarily that we'll be a top playoff team like the Bucks possibly could be still, but that we could make the playoffs and still have a pretty positive, successful part of our season. It's still because there's a lot of games to be played. That's exactly right. Exactly right. That's right. Let's see. Mike's saying hate weights too much on the soul, shortens your life. That's right. That's right. And in some ways, our emotions are more a reflection of ourselves and how we feel about ourselves than the other person. And that's the thing we always have to remember on this. That's right. Edmund saying, yes, keep energy positive. That's what we try to do on the Raptor Freak channel. I'm not trying to take this team apart and say fire Darko and fire Masai and all this kind of bullshit like other content creators might be doing right now. I have my eyes on the whole big picture, and I understand what's coming up is going to be better. And we don't need to rip it up and tear it up and start all over again, because then we just have to start all over again. And that's no good. We're off to a rough start, but trust me, in some ways, this rough start is going to pay off in the long run for these young players that are involved in it right now. Mike's saying Darko, when asked about the tough start this season, he said they will be competing against good teams and improve more from it in the rest of the season. He actually said that's a blessing in disguise. The fact that we have to play such a tough schedule right away like this will be a blessing in disguise for us in the long run. And I think he's right. I think he's right. All right, let me do the rundown since I'm at the end of the comments. Tonight, there is a 9:05 game. I hope you'll join me in the Yahoo chat for the 9:05 game against College Park Skyhawks, game number 2. Third game of the season for the 9:05. They're 1-1. Let's see if we can get back in the win column with a 2-1 record by the end of the night. Klaja Mula is the crew chief. Benyam Maru is the referee, and Charles Watson is the umpire. And they show the Skyhawks games live on Atlanta TV. And my dad was watching the Skyhawks versus the Raptors on Monday night on the TV channel in the Atlanta area. And he's like, I actually got to watch the 9:05. So he'll be watching again tonight. I love you, Dad. You are awesome. And I love the fact that you get into the Raptors just as much as me vicariously, and that you spent time watching the Raptors 9:05 play this College Park Skyhawks on Monday night. I love that so much. It's so cool. And I'm glad that he could watch the game for once. My 3 stars of the game and the defeat in an NBA Cup game against Milwaukee last night. Grady Dick with his career high once again, 32 points. Jakob Poeltl and Bruno Fernando, the 2 big men trying to do their best against Brook Lopez, but it is what it is. It's what it was to what. Yes. All right, let's see. Anything else I want to go over before we get done? That's about it, guys. If you have a fantasy team, check on your team and get your lineup set. And check out the Kensington Variety VIP Club show, 5 years to the date, is coming out. What was going on with Lex 5 years at this day? Well, you can check out it in the video chat tab on the YouTube channel and in our Facebook group. I'm posting them in there, and you can see the goofiness. In fact, it's funny. We played the Lakers last 5 years ago on Sunday, and we beat them. So there's a lot of mirroring to now and then. And we're supposed to play the Blazers tonight 5 years ago with that old team post-championship. So, yeah, it's a fun little channel. It's goofy. It's silly. And I'm selling people open boxes of Raisin Bran for 50 cents on today's episode. What the fuck, Lex? Why were you doing that, man? Why are you selling open boxes of cereal in a convenience store in Kensington Variety like 5 years ago today? That's so weird. I'm like going back, like, why did you think you should do that? But somebody bought the open box of cereal for 50 cents. So that somebody bought it, at least. It's crazy. Trevor's saying, remember, when you leave this earth, the only things should be in your heart is love. There you go. There you go. That's awesome. And Racimo's saying, I'm not leaving. There you go. He's not leaving. He's going to stay here forever. It's like he's an eternal race mode travels. That's right. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching me today. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate the fellowship, the camaraderie, the family of the Raptor Freaks. You guys are awesome. You're a guiding light in a lot of different ways, like we said today. And you guys are my social group. You guys, I love you guys. And we're going to go to this game on December the 8th in Mississauga. I hope you guys will join me. 2 p.m. Paramount Five Food Center. Raptors 905 hosting the Westchester Knicks. It's the official Raptor Freak family meet and greet get together. First one of the year. We're going to go to a 905 game. And I hope you can mark it on your calendar and come on out there, Edmund. Bring the kids and we'll go to a 905 game all together. It'll be fun, man. And we'll cheer for Shamshay and Disu and the rest of them. All right, guys. Well, I'll be back tomorrow. A Thursday Think Tank. Y'all get your phones ready. Because we're going to talk about being the worst team in the league on the Thursday Think Tank call-in show tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Raptor Street Channel. You know I'm going to be here every day. Let's go, Raptors. Get outside, touch grass. Raptorize your day like Nat Bhatia would, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Let's go, Raptors. Let's go 905, and let's beat the Skyhawks.